can tell us what to do. You think you can tell us how to game. You think that you're famous, well you better get ready. Bowser's Last Castle. Take it down. Regenerate into podcast fools. We just got tired of the other hosts acting like tools. Hey, those are my toys. Retro power, little man. Take it down. Regeneration. Action.
Hello, everyone, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned for the most unwoke, unfiltered, uncensored, politically incorrect, and absolutely toxic to anyone even slightly libtarded. The following transmission is officially rated X, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the new most based podcast on the internet. My name is Jimbo from RGL, live from the world famous Retro Game Lounge. That is Chris from CM Retro Gaming, and this is RGXPC, Regeneration X Podcasta. I made it Italian for some reason. We are here. I know, I'm not Italian at all, dude. I'm Irish and German, I think that's it. In English, that's it. So first, before we get started, I just want to give a very big thanks to everyone who stopped by for our inaugural episode. Thank you so very much. You guys did not disappoint. It was great to have folks in the chat. Speaking of which, let me go ahead and get you guys on the screen so that we can engage with you good folks. There we go. Because it was fantastic to see the turnout. We really appreciate that, guys. It's one of the reasons we're doing this, is to engage with you guys, to share opinions, talk about the stuff that we're here to talk about, and just kind of do our thing, man. You know, like just dig into it, talk about the subjects we find interesting, talk on modern news. You know, it's almost impossible to not get political these days just because we live in a very, very politically charged world. That's just the way it is. And unfortunately, like, I'm sure, Chris, you remember a time when like politics and gaming were very separate things. Like they didn't really commingle, where like Super Mario Brothers was just Super Mario Brothers and like there was zero politics in it. But not absolute, but like as a rule these days, it's like everything is politically charged. And you know, personally, I don't want politics anywhere near games. Like I just want fun games to play.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that because you know, there was a simpler time way back in the 1900s where we didn't have to deal with this bullshit. But now everything is politically motivated, and you know, it's so funny because I text you earlier this week and I was like, "Hey, man, finally broke down and started watching The Last of Us on HBO." And I'm not gonna give away any spoilers for anybody that hasn't watched it, but you know, I love The Last of Us so much, and then. We all know that if you played the game, we all know that she's a gay character, you know, and nobody has a problem with that. No. But when they take certain liberties in the shows to satisfy a political agenda, I get a little upset because these are characters that you love, you know what I mean? And you don't want to see that happen to them. Let's just say that. But yeah, it's infiltrated everything. You can't do anything in gaming now. Like gaming news is basically politics, especially since you know, what was that? Alyssa Mercante, was that like a G4 thing that they tried to reboot, and that just turned into a shit show? But you know, it's a sad state of affairs.
I was one of the people that actually challenged her to a fight, since she said, "Come fight me," and I was like, "I'll fight you." Yeah,
challenge accepted.
I wasn't kidding either. Like seriously, like I would give her the first hit. I'd be like, "I'll tell you what, you can literally tie my hands behind my back, and I'll give you the first punch, and then you cut my hands loose, and then it's game on." But it's like, I am so confident that I would win, that I would literally be willing to go in there defenseless. I'm not sure that A, this bitch needs to be calibrated because she's obviously never been in a real fight. And B, it's just like, I'm going to do this to make a point. I'm going to do this to make several points. Like, don't say fight me unless you mean it, unless you really know how to fight. Because I wouldn't say that unless I'm probably, angry and just like letting my emotions like run my mouth, which we are all guilty of sooner or later. But like, don't. And on top of that, it's just like the only people who say that are people who've never been in a damn fight. The people who've been in fights is like, no, dude, getting punched in the face sucks.
Yeah,
like, it's not fun, like at all.
No, it is not.
You never get used to it either. It's just like you may grow to like tolerate it a little bit. Like, it's the fifth time it happens, definitely not as bad as the first time. First time like crushes your soul, but like it's still not fun, like at all. So yeah, it's to echo your statement, man. It's so crazy because like on the RGL Facebook page, I had like a long-standing rule that I was never gonna do politics or anything like that. Like it was strictly about gaming. It was strictly about like toy collecting and like the nerdy shit that I like to talk about. But it's just like as time went on, like the politics just got closer and closer and closer and closer. All this stuff where it eventually like infiltrated to the point where they start fucking with things I love. Like case in point, the disastrous fucking Halo TV show, which I stopped watching after the first episode, and I do not regret a single minute of that. Dude, I checked out when he took off his helmet. I was like, I'm out. I guess it's not a thing. Like if they had done that at the end of the show where they're just like, okay, he's going to show his face and it's going to be a moment, but he took it off for fucking nothing. Like it had nothing to do with anything. And then apparently he's having sex with Cortana or something like that. And like half the time he's walking around without his armor. I was just like, did you guys not understand the assignment here? Like there's a reason we were like 5+ Halo games in right now. We've never seen his face. He's never taken off the suit. And is anyone complaining about that? No. So don't try and fix it. And this nonsense coming from the actor who's playing Master Chief. I forget the Pablo something. He's what's his name? Fucking Sabretooth's brother. Pablo Schreiber. Yeah, Liev Schreiber's his brother. It's talking about like, it was all about like the emotion. I've never actually played the Halo games. And I'm like, yeah, we know. Like we can tell. Like this had such promise, dude. Like that opening battle, I was like, holy shit. Like I was blazed up like, oh my God, like they did the homework, man. Like let's fucking go. But it just went off the cliff so fast to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to like stop talking about gaming if I'm going to have like stick to my rule about no politics in gaming. And like, the American in me is like, fuck that. I'm going to say whatever I want, dude. Like,
and the real issue is that it was brought into this community. We didn't go out and grab it and bring it back with us.
No,
right? We tried to keep it separate. We wanted to keep it separate for our own sanity. And then, all of a sudden everything's a DEI agenda, woke agenda, trans agenda,
gay agenda, butthole agenda,
all, anti-white agenda.
Yes.
So, and it's just like, so I like to go back and play Mega Man X, man. Just play a game that doesn't have bullshit in it. But it's man, I don't know if it's ever going to get better. Although I would say, I've got some sales numbers and stuff like that I'm looking at about if the industry doesn't change some things that they're doing at the Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft level, this could really fall off a cliff for them real fast.
Absolutely. I think Nintendo is the only one of the three companies who has largely stayed out of this simply because they're a very traditional Japanese company. And they're just like, I'm sure Shigeru Miyamoto is just like, dude, I don't care about any of this stupid shit that's going around. I just want to make games. Like, that's all I want to do. Like, there's no politics involved in this. Like, let's just make it games, and let the games speak for themselves, which is what all of them should be doing, man. Like, we don't want to play video games and have the video games reproduce the stupid bullshit that we have to deal with in everyday life. The whole point of a video game is that it's an escape. It's like, I don't want to be me in a video game, bro. I want to be Master Chief or Marcus Phoenix or something. Like, I want to go be somebody else and like kind of cosplay as a different character, play in a different world, get exposed to things that I'm not exposed to in my real life. The worst thing that any game developer can do, seriously. And I apologize. I'd written this guy's name down, but I'm totally forgetting right now. It's a medieval game that this new developer is making. And they basically got called out by the fucking alphabet mafia on social media. Like, are you guys going to do anything, for LGBTQ inclusion? And he basically just straight up said, like, we're not getting involved in the politics of today because we're just interested in making good games. And I was like, that is the perfect fucking answer. Like, just don't even address it. Don't apologize. Don't give them the floor. Just be like, no, because we don't care and we're focused on the games. Like, if you don't want to play it, don't fucking play it. So that is how all of them should be handling it right now, in my opinion. Like, remove politics from it, dude. Like, we're bombarded with this stuff nonstop, 24, especially if you're in America. I'm sure it's similar in a lot of places in the world right now. But like here, guys, it is, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, man, it is fucking inescapable. And it's kind of nice. Like, I know Chris isn't a fan, but that's okay. Like, I'm fucking hyped as shit for RE9 because there's like no politics in it. It's just Capcom going back to what made one of the things that made Capcom great, making a scary as fuck game with a lot of zombie ass kicking and stuff. And I'm like, that's what I want, dude. I just want to turn it off for a little bit and just escape and just have fun. Turn off the left versus right and the north versus south and the this versus that. Like, I just want to go have fun. I think if we were all doing a lot more of that, we'd have a lot less problems in the world. Seriously. Like, there's a time and a place to discuss shit like that. It is not when you're playing a video game, guys. It just isn't. That being said, our first topic of the night, Chris, is hyper political because I don't think the audience is going to let us get away without talking about this one because they were already blowing it up in the chat before we even started. So we'll get this one out of the way. So, all right. So a little inside baseball for you guys. Chris gave me some friendly ribbing last time, just between me and him, that I didn't kind of dial it up the way I normally do when he and I normally talk because, Chris doesn't know me for that long, but I'm sure he can tell, like, dude, I have no filter. Like, I say what I want all the time. Like, I've been in trouble for a lot of things, man, but it ain't for fucking lying. It's always for saying what I think. I'm a lot like, not that I'm comparing myself to him, but I have a lot of the similarities of President Trump, where it's like, he gets in trouble because he says what he thinks. And it's like, okay, sometimes that can be bad, but at the same time, it's like, I'd rather deal with someone like that because they say what they think. Like, they're not lying to you. They're not bullshitting you. They're just saying unfiltered, sometimes to their own downfall. Here's what I think. That's kind of the way I operate on things. But let's dig in, man. All right. The Epstein Files, the elephant in the room, the thing that has been part of the news cycle for the past several years, kind of up and down nonstop. So we had a big dump of what was like 6 million pages or some ridiculous amount, right? That. And like, what I love about this is that the geeks are jumping into this full blast and like searching through these things, like trying to find patterns and stuff like that. Like, Reddit is like fucking exploding over this thing, man. It's like every other goddamn like string on Reddit. Where they're finding new patterns of things, and there's all kinds of ways we can attack this, but I'll bring up the one that's the most current. This is the one I heard right before, about 20 minutes before I jumped here to talk to Chris and get the pod going. That being Jerky might be a code word for either human flesh or infant flesh, because of the emails that they expose. When you put them in context, it doesn't really make sense. Like, it's very obvious the way they're talking that Jerky is some kind of code word because, like, we're putting Jerky in the freezer and stuff like that. Like, dude, who does that? Like, the entire point of Jerky is that you don't have to freeze it. Like, duh. Like, that's the point. That's how humanity like preserved meat before we had refrigeration, is we would dry out meats like that because, well, physics. If something doesn't have water, it can't grow bacteria. So there's all kinds of little like rabbit holes, like going back to the Pizzagate thing. And I know I shouted him out on this last time. I'm sorry, guys. I got an itchy nose, just getting over a cold. Don't have a Coke habit. Couldn't afford it. Bill Maher, apparently, like, I shouted him out last time, but like, I got to shout him out again. Like, he said something that I could not fucking believe he said. He was like, I might owe an apology to QAnon over the fucking pizza thing. Like, he didn't straight up say it, but he's just like, there might be something to this. And I'm like, Bill, you're so close, man. I feel like fucking Morpheus, and I'm holding the red pill in front of him. I'm like, bro, you want it. Come on. Like, you're almost there. Like, you're going to wake up in the real world. It's going to be fucking crazy, but you can thank me later. I don't think he's ever going to come clean over to conservative side, but like he's definitely walking the line of like moderate, like leaning left, but definitely he's a little bit more middle of the road guy. And this is wild, dude, because it's like every single day someone is finding something new in these files. And like I'll kick it over to you in a second, Chris, but there was one thing that I wanted to make very clear, and I will speak for myself on this, although I'm pretty sure that you're not going to disagree with this, but feel free to. Okay. There's one thing I want to make very fucking clear here to anyone watching this who is even within 50 miles of the word liberal. This nonsense, this stupid idea that conservatives, Republicans, whoever, is in any way protecting Donald Trump, where if we found out through discovery on the Epstein Files that Trump is absolutely complicit, he was on the island, he was doing things he shouldn't have been doing, he was essaying like minors or anything like that, if there's any type of malfeasance in that arena other than him simply being mentioned, and as I understand it, the only reason he's getting mentioned is because he was like, famous, like, he's a famous person. There's tons of celebrities named in there that have absolutely nothing to do with this because there's so many files, again, it's millions of pages. And on top of that, like, it's people, they're including people that basically lodged complaints like after the fact, meaning like not when Epstein was alive, like way afterwards. So like it could very well just be someone full of shit. But the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is I'm not protecting anyone on this, up to and including the president. If you hand me evidence that shows unequivocally that he was one of the scumbags involved in this, you have my permission to not only impeach him, but put him in jail and execute him. I am totally fine with that. I'm not threatening the president. I want to make that very clear, guys. I'm talking about fucking pedophiles, PDFs involved in this. I don't care who it is. I don't care what level you're at. I don't care if it's his entire fucking administration. Hang every single one of them. You have my permission. I do not discriminate politically on this subject. I'm a father. I love my wife. I love my kid. Chris is a father. Dude, anyone who is a fucking parent on this, who has any type of political bias on this, there is something wrong with you. No one, and I mean no one, should be protected from this. I don't even care if I voted for them. It doesn't matter, dude. Like, no. The buck stops here. This dies now. So I just want to make that very, very clear. I know we've got some haters that are in the fucking liberal section. And guys, if you're going to come down the video, quit being a pussy. Leave a comment. Like, seriously, engage. Like, we're not just going to flame you. We're not going to ban you. We'll engage you. But don't be a bitch. Like, seriously, leave a comment. Engage. Yeah, but let me kick it over to you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Please join the chat. Participate. Right. This is a forum sort of for everybody. So if you have some type of profound evidence or thought, bring it here and we'll dissect it or whatever. But let's go back to these Epstein files. Remember, the Democrats had the president, the Senate, and the House of Representatives for 4 years, and they did not care about these files. All of a sudden, President Trump gets elected for the second term, and it's the files. And they're releasing what they can. The problem is, you may have people in there whose names need to be redacted because they're underage or victims, current victims, and doing litigation or whatever. And then there's also information that needs to be redacted because you have to sort of find some level of credibility to it. So it's like, oh, Jimbo was on the island in 1993. Well, wait a minute. No, I wasn't. I was in middle school. Wait a minute. You were. Right. So there's a process that has to be respected. However, there was a big dump on the Epstein files, but I just read on Forbes.com that the entire unredacted Epstein files will be made available to all members of Congress next week. Fantastic. So by next Friday, everybody in Congress should know everything and all the unredacted information that's in the Epstein files.
Good.
Here's the thing. Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer said, yes, there is a file on Donald Trump. And here's where liberals get confused. A file on somebody is not a flight log to the island. They're two different things. The reason that Epstein's attorney said that there is a file on Trump is because Jeffrey Epstein was mad at Trump because Trump got him kicked out of Mar-a-Lago, had the cops called on him, and that's how this whole thing started. So he wanted dirt on Trump just to be able to use whenever he needed to use it. So Epstein's lawyer has actually exonerated Trump, and the victims have exonerated Trump. So, Donald Trump is not going to be in these files as going to the island on that flight log. He is on flight logs in the United States, like he and Jeffrey Epstein flew from Texas to DC and from Florida to DC or Florida to New York or whatever it was. And those are like, I own a private plane, you can ride with me. Right? This isn't like they took a trip out to some weird island. But I do agree with your sentiment. This should be a bipartisan issue that pedophiles should be shot in the face.
Absolutely.
There should be a zero tolerance from both parties on this issue. They don't reform, they don't rehabilitate, and the behavior is always escalating. My first, I'd say, couple months I was at my new job, I arrested a dude that had 60,000 images of CP on a flash drive. He had just gotten out of jail for doing 9 years for the same thing, and he'd been out like 6-7 months. And what he was doing was he was coming to our campus, making a photo collage, and then printing them out by the hundreds, and then taking them back over to the homeless shelter and selling them for $5 a sheet.
What the fuck, man? So
we arrested him. It was too big for our department. We don't have like a special victims unit or anything. So we kicked that up to the Franklin County sex crimes unit, because they have to go through and actually verify that the people in the video or the photos are actually underage and not some, 19-year-old girl that looks like she's like a teenager, a younger teenager. So that got kicked up, and he went away for 20 years. So he should be getting out of jail like next year.
That's wild, dude.
Not next year. I'm sorry for the other one. So what's this? So in like 5 years. That was 2011.
Though help us try and understand this, Chris. Like, I know you can't speak for all of this everywhere, but you can definitely offer some insight given your particular vocation. Like you mentioned you run into this before. Like, what? I mean, I have my thoughts as far as like how this crap keeps happening, but like, what is the deal with these guys being caught, then they get let out? Like what have you seen from your perspective on this? Like, I'm sure I know your thoughts on this. Like,
yeah, well, I think
like put them away.
The first thing is that the law is written in a certain way. So, a crime that is a misdemeanor 3 is punishable up to this many years in prison and this amount of fine, and a felony 2 is, whatever it is. But, your legislatures really have to do the work and go in there and say, you know what, a 10-year mandatory minimum is necessary on the first offense. You see it all the time. Like, DUIs they're non-violent offenses if no one gets hurt. You know what I mean? If just a cop pulls you over, they're not interested in keeping people in jail, because there's a cost associated with keeping someone in jail, and everybody's looking out for their budgets. Like, there's a lot of moving parts with that. But I think that there are some issues like the PDFs, wife beaters, serial drunk drivers, anybody that hurts or exploits children or the elderly, or anybody that falls into a disabled class. That there should be mandatory minimums, and they should be pretty severe. You know what I mean?
Keep talking. I'm working in the background. Sorry,
like
talking,
you said, that should really be a bipartisan. That's something that we should all agree to, that pedophiles are bad. One party doesn't want to get on board with that program. They want to protect, those people and protest and, cause trouble for the officers that are trying to get those folks out of their communities. But,
I'm going to completely echo the sentiment, man. I don't understand the resistance of these folks. I'm just going to call it out, dude, because if there's an example of this on the right, you guys, you're going to have to point me to it, because I have never personally experienced that either in person or, seen video footage or anything like that of anything resembling this on the right. It's always people on the left. And the reason that I'm kind of singling them out here is the right isn't coming up with phrases like minor attracted person.
Exactly.
Like, that's not a thing. That's entirely on the left. Like, the the people on the right, at least all the conservative people that I've talked to, are all of the same opinion. Like, these are the guys wearing shirts that says "shoot your local pedo." Like, I don't see people on the left doing that as much. If there is, then great. That would actually make me feel better, because it's like, great, we have common ground here. Like, you have some tiny fucking sense of morality.
And the problem is, especially with the left, is when one conservative does it, like there's some like old Baptist church guy somewhere down south that gets in trouble for touching kids. He's like, oh well, there they go again. So they're trying to use, like, out of 100 cases, the overwhelming majority, I'd probably say like 85 are probably going to be lefties. Like Washington Post cartoonist Darren Bell, who always depicted Trump as a sexual predator, has just been convicted of owning child pornography. How about that?
Yeah, and it's to circle back on the Trump thing, guys. Like, here's really how I reconcile. Like, again, I'm open to be wrong about this, and if we've got official evidence that suggests otherwise, guys, bring it on. Like, that's fine. Like, my opinion on this isn't going to change, like, as far as like how I think this should be dealt with. But here's how I know that there's nothing in the Epstein files that completely condemns Trump, because the lefties had the White House for 4 years and they were running up against him, and he was a very credible threat to their administration. You're going to tell me that they had the smoking gun of smoking guns that would not only destroy his presidential campaign, but would destroy him, period, and put him in jail for the rest of his fucking life. Mm-hmm. And they didn't use it? Like, they accused him of Russian collusion. You don't think being a fucking PDF file, you think that's off the table? Come on, guys, use your head. Like, look, as I was telling a buddy of mine, and this is like, I won't name him, but if he ever watches this, he's going to know who I'm talking about. This dude definitely leans pretty decently conservative, but he can't stand President Trump. I think he's like slowly starting to tolerate him a little bit more and a little bit more. But I even got him.
I mean, there's some things about President Trump I don't like when he says "fuck you" to auto workers.
Yes, voting for him does not mean you agree with every single thing he says. Like, dude, I don't agree with everything my wife says. That doesn't mean I'm going to fucking divorce her. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. It's like, what is this thing where it's like, you voted for him, like that means you have to agree with? No, I don't, because he's not perfect, because he's a human.
That's how they are. You're either in the hive mind and you agree with everything. Look at how they ostracize some Democrats and some liberals that are like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't be interfering with ICE. Maybe we should be doing this. They killed that woman, that Melissa Holtman, for voting against giving immigrants free stuff.
Yeah, they did. And
they will literally kill you if you go away from party line.
Yeah. And it's like, I got my buddy who I've told him to his face, I'm like, bro, you got TDS. Because I've like laid out the facts in front of him, and he's just been like completely denying it. I'm like, dude, this isn't my opinion. This is like, you're arguing with facts. And I even got him to admit, I was like, do you really think he's in the files? He's like, in a flight log kind of way? I'm like, yeah. He's like, no. I'm like, okay, why? And he's like, I think he's a pussy hound. I don't think he's a PDF. And I was just like, exactly. Like, there is a world of difference between those two things. I am not praising one / condemning the other. No, like, that's not what I'm saying here. All I'm saying is, like, dude, if you like hanging out with like Russian supermodels, like as in adults, that doesn't make you a PDF. That just means you like Russian supermodel poontang. Okay, he has a type. So as long as they're not underage, do I care? No, because it's none of my business. He's not Saint Trump. He's not Reverend Trump. He's President Trump. Like, I don't care. Like, as long as it's not interfering with his ability to do his job and he's not doing anything illegal, I don't give a shit. I really don't. That's between him and his wife, man. Yeah. So
and until he gets a BJ in the Oval Office or a drone strike that kills 4 Americans, one of which was a 16-year-old, like Bill and Barack did, I mean, I really don't want to hear it. You just don't like it. But to answer the question you had, because it just kind of came up in the chat again about the word jerky, you're right. It's like Pizzagate. I mean, I'm sure that there is plenty of codes and hidden meanings and things within those files and those emails that as time goes on and that stuff is discovered and it's figured out what they mean and how it relates to what was going on Epstein Island, it'll take a while to get through it, but yeah, I guarantee you there's more coded messages in there.
Oh, absolutely. It's so crazy, man. I was talking with the wife about this where, we're just kind of like watching this unfold and everything. And I've got like several thoughts going into my head. I'm like, you know what? When it comes to conspiracy theories, man, I think people on the right about now, we're like 170-0. It's like every single time, like we get made fun of for saying something that doesn't follow the fucking narrative. They're just like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Well, my answer to that is like, you know what the difference between a conspiracy theory and actual reality is? About 6 months. Like all you got to do is wait. Sure. And then it kind of comes to fruition. And I was telling her, I was like, honey, if you had asked me about this shit like 10 years ago, like everything, like the Jerky thing, Pizzagate, like the Epstein thing, like any of this shit, I would have been like, dude, no. I was like, there's no cabal or anything behind this. I would have been like, no, that's lunatic conspiracy theory nonsense. And now it's like, I don't know if I'm becoming more cynical, but it's like I'm not surprised anymore. Like anytime something comes out where like 10 years ago me would have been shocked to my core, like, wait, what? And now I'm just like, I kind of expect it. If there really is some type of satanic cabal that involves people on the left and the right, it's basically, guys, money doesn't care about politics. Money's money. This is about fucking rich people. That's really all it is. These are the super fucking powerful elite that essentially run the world.
Yeah, and if people don't believe that, right? Let's set it up this way. You and I are the richest people on the planet. We don't answer to anybody, and we go, hey, why don't you take these ideologies and I'll take these ideologies, and we'll fight and bicker back and forth, and we'll rape everybody for all of their money and their time, and it'll actually keep them distracted from what we're doing. Now we're in on it the whole time, but we're just going to burn society. That's literally what they're doing. When you hear them talk at like the Economic Forum about digital bank currencies and you're going to own nothing, and they're going to create a society of renters that you basically rent everything you have.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a Democrat Republican. You don't hear them talking about Democrat and Republican bipartisan type politics at those types of things, man. It's spooky.
It's just money. Like money is these people's language, dude. That's really what this is about. And the real like crazy part about this is like the more divided we become, the more that these people benefit. Mm-hmm. Like that should be the reason that Americans in particular want to come together on this. Now, that being said, like I'm all for bridging those divides, and I'm all for American unity. If I had my way, bro, we would rewind to September 12th, 2001, where patriotism was coming out everyone's ass. Like we were the most united we have ever been as a country since probably the day after Pearl Harbor. It was so awesome to be an American, dude. People walking on the street, people waving flags. No one's talking about politics. There was no red versus blue. They're like, no, we're American. That's all that matters. That to me was incredible. I would rewind back to that. But at the same time, as much as I want that to be a reality, guys, that doesn't mean that I'm going to tolerate fucking evil when I see it. And if it just happens to be on the other side of the political aisle, and I think that side of the political aisle is intentionally perpetuating this evil, guys, I don't care. Like, I'm sorry. If that's going to divide us, well, then it's going to fucking divide us, because good and evil will always be divided. And I am determined to not be on the side of evil. I'm as flawed and I'm as imperfect as the next person, guys, but my aim is to always be on the side of good as much as any one person could be. And this bullshit that is coming out of the left right now is just, it's incredible, man. Like it's so fucking crazy, because like for the majority of my life, guys, I was never on one side or the other. When you look at my voting record, I'm a moderate, because I voted for both sides in almost equal measure. I voted independent a couple times. Like if you went strictly by who I voted for in the presidential election, you'd be like, he's a moderate. But it's like all this fucking lunacy on like strictly on the left side of the aisle is just pushing me and pushing me and pushing me to want to not tolerate this shit at all. Like when I hear them defending things that are completely fucking indefensible, like minor attracted person and stuff like this, I'm like, no, I'm not going to engage you on politics. And the gentleman that I mentioned earlier, the guy, my buddy who's got TDS, we had an engagement about this, and he was like, then you're part of the problem. I was like, no, I'm not. They're the fucking problem. I'm like, I'm not engaging with people who have opinions like this. Like, look, we can talk about gun control. We could talk about abortion. We could talk about foreign policy. We could talk about domestic policy. Like, all of those things, to a degree, are open to a rational conversation because those things have layers. I have my opinions on those things, but those are nuanced conversations to a degree. But when you're talking about protecting PDF files, when you're talking about like attacking cops for doing their job, when you're talking about just all this fucking crazy shit that these people seem to come up with, guys, I'm not going to engage you on this because you are an insane person. That's like, I feel like Batman trying to reason with the Joker.
Yeah,
like,
and especially with them, sometimes it's selective rage, right?
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to bring up the fact that during the Obama administration, 54 people lost their lives during Obama's ICE raids.
Facts,
but
dude.
3 or 4 people have died during Trump's, and now all of a sudden it's the end of the world. We should end ICE. The I don't know if you saw this week the thing that was posted on Trump's social media. I forget which one it was. It was like the Lion King, and it had like Barack and Michelle. So they took that screenshot of Barack and Michelle. I always thought Michelle Obama looked like Chewbacca. You know what I mean? Like, she's got like that face.
It's not just me then.
So they put Barack and Michelle Obama's face on monkeys. But again, that's selective rage because you weren't mad when they put Trump's face on an orangutan. Or how about in the exact same video? Isn't it kind of racist that Whoopi Goldberg was the water buffalo, that Andrea Ocasio-Cortez was the donkey? Yeah, that probably wasn't good. How about you don't mess with the Zohami? He was the hyena, lying and non-trustworthy animal, and he's a Muslim.
Accurate.
So, but you're not. They're not showing rage over all of that. They've just picked one thing, and now it's ruled their world for the last 3 days.
It's only racist when white people do it, Chris. You know that.
Apparently.
So it's like, no, we know that. That's okay. But all right, so there's something that I got to put on screen here, guys. Like, while we're talking about the Epstein files, that I cannot let this go. Let me kick this over so you guys can see this. All right, so I don't have a solidified opinion on this one way or the other, but this is a real photograph. This is not fake. This is not AI. That has been verified. That was taken in Tel Aviv, Israel, very recently, within last week. This has been run through 4 or 5, as I understand it, very credible AI detectors, basically, for several reasons. Number one, like, is this AI and everything? And the ones that they're using are pretty good. I work in the tech industry, guys, and I don't think this is AI. Like, this isn't setting off my AI radar. But they also asked all of those algorithms the same question. They put a picture of Jeffrey Epstein next to it, and they asked him, is this the same person? Every single one of them said yes. And they didn't just say yes. They gave specific criteria for why they are saying yes, like the shape of the nose, the distance from the forehead to the brow, like ear, like hairline, like all that other stuff, all those things that you really can't easily change like you could with extensive facial reconstruction surgery and things like that. Like, it is possible to change those things, but it is not easy. It would be very difficult and very expensive to do this. And look, this falls into the same category as I was mentioning earlier, where I'm talking to the wife, where I'm like, 10 years ago, I'd be like, nah, it's fucking conspiracy theory shit. If this turns out to be true, I am not going to be shocked at all. It's that makes me either like even more cynical than I should be, being a fucking, loud and proud Gen Xer, or there's just so much crazy shit in the world that like I've like lost my sense of surprise. I honestly hope that's not true, Chris. I really do. Cause being surprised is one of the best parts of life, but I look at this and I'm like, I don't know. Like, is it possibly him? I mean, if he's in Israel, I'm like, well, a lot of things would make sense then wouldn't they? All the conspiracy theories about Mossad and all that stuff, like,
yeah. And you remember like maybe a year or 2 after he died or allegedly died, there was an aerial photo from Israel. Imagine like if you were to step out of the back of an SUV, like you're halfway out, and then you look up in the sky and there was a drone or something that took a picture of it or was flying by and took a video, and there was a video of it, and it was Jeffrey. He didn't have all the hair and the facial hair. It was him.
It's crazy, man. Like, I remember looking at the morgue photos, and I'm like, I'll let you jump in on this in a second. I'll give you my hot take, then we'll give him yours, because you may have seen stuff like this. Look, man, like I've seen the quote unquote murder weapon, the sheet and everything like that. And then I saw the marks on his neck and I'm like, look, I'm not a pathologist, guys, but I would have a very hard time believing that a bed sheet made those marks on his neck. That looks like rope or wire or something a lot sharper because it literally cut his fucking neck. You know how hard that is to do with fabric?
Mm-hmm.
It's not impossible, but that would be really difficult. Like the amount of pressure that you would have to put on the capillaries right here to literally break the blood vessels under the skin. Like it would probably be just bruised from weight, but this looked more like the mafia, like taking some fucking garrote wire and like strangling somebody. I know that's cliche, but like I don't know how else to describe it. So what were have you seen the photos, Chris? They've been out for fucking ever.
It's been a while. But yeah, I mean, listen, it wouldn't surprise me either. I live in Columbus, Ohio, or around Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeffrey Epstein, it's known that he was very, very good friends with Lex Wexner, who built the Limited, basically owns half of New Albany, which is like a rich place. Anywhere out here where there's like split wood, white painted fence, that's all Wexner. The Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, right? It would not put it past me if the heat was turned up on Epstein and he said, listen, if you guys kill me, somebody that I know has information and that information will be released.
Mm-hmm.
Pretend to kill me and then I'll go live in Israel. I would not. I mean, Wexner owns Victoria's Secret as well, I believe, and some other like Bath and Body Works or something like that. But would that surprise anybody? I have an information dead man switch. If you kill me, all of this information is going to get out. And you think 6,000 pages of these files is a lot. Wait till I just do a data dump.
Facts. No, I'm not that I'm at all surprised. We definitely seem to be on the same page on this one, man. Are we ever going to get to see the end of this? I don't know. Like, I think that this is one of those things like the Kennedy assassination. Like, we're probably going to be talking about this in 50 years, man. Like, we'll probably learn more than we know now. The Clintons, I'm sure you heard, have agreed to testify, and apparently they're like, let's do it public. Let's have cameras rolling and shit. I'm just like, okay, this is going to get interesting. Like, if they've got dirt on someone, I want to hear it.
Yeah, they're either going to stonewall and say, Senator, I don't understand your question. Can you repeat? Or they're going to drop bombs.
Yeah. I mean, either way, I'm here for it. I mean, it's, part of me thinks like it's just going to be a fucking distraction from things. Because to be clear, guys, Hillary is not in the Epstein files. Like her husband is, but she is not mentioned at all. Not by name, at least. So, like, do I think that completely exonerates her from being in any way connected to this? No, dude, she's as fucking crooked as it gets, man. Like, it's like she has so many bad things outside of this that it's just like, I don't care if you're not in the fucking files. Like, you've done so many goddamn terrible things. I don't give a shit. Like, if we're up to me, you'd be in jail for the rest of your life, probably facing execution for treason.
They've laundered hundreds of millions of dollars and they put it in a bank in Canada. Which then has been routed to, Swiss bank accounts and everything else. So it's like, what are you hiding? But if they offered them immunity and a paycheck, they may take it.
They might. I mean, it's this, I'll be there with popcorn regardless, man. I want to see how this unfolds. And again, if she starts dropping what turns out to be truth bombs, on people on the opposite side of the aisle, like senators or whatever that are like named in this or whatever, like as long as they're not baseless claims, like as long as she actually has evidence to support these guys, again, I said before and I'll say it again, hang them right next to the fucking libs. I don't care. I'm not discriminating on this. If you're in any way, if you either participated or facilitated this, don't give a shit. My answer is the fucking same. Death sentence. No tolerance, no quarter, no mercy.
Yeah, like Rand Paul will probably get burned in the next year and a half or so. He keeps voting no, like to keep the government shut down, like he keeps voting for it. Come to find out, he's taking money from Venezuela and not the government.
Yeah. Facts.
Like Chinese, Russian, drug cartels. So he is a sheep in Republicans' clothing is what he is. And he needs to go.
Well, since we're crapping, not exclusively on the left, but we are definitely giving them a very big heaping of a shit sandwich. Chris, I think that you just crapped on what?
I just crapped on Rand Paul, and he's a Republican.
No, that's true. Well, is he? Sometimes I wonder
on the ballot.
On the ballot, but like I would lean more towards Rhino. Just my personal opinion. Like he is in some areas, but in others, I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. But so, following that same kind of vibe here, though, that's going to bring us to, I guess, the second phase of what will definitely be the recurring segment on this show. And man, do we have a fucking doozy this time. But again, I'm just going to let Mr. Cooper do the talking on this one.
What you trying to do?
Hey, stupid, what you trying to do? So, last time, ladies and gents, we picked on dear old Donnie Boy, and man, did they not disappoint. That story just continues, and we will be updating. We will be talking more about that one on future episodes. Like, you know, there's not really a lot to get into on this one because he's been charged, he's out on bail. You know, we all know that. But this particular one, we got to talk about dear Kamala, who, like, we're not going to dig too far into this, but like, this is definitely one where, like, right when I saw it, I'm just like, this is the next Hey Stupid, just because of the way that this little nugget, which I'm going to show you guys on screen here, like the way it unfolded was so on brand for her that I couldn't, like, I rewound it and watched it a couple times where I'm just like, wait, what? Like, I'm trying to make sense of this. I'm just like, I don't get it. So for those of you not in the know, she basically had hinted at a big like announcement that she was going to make and yada, yada, yada. Of course, all the speculation is like she's going to run for president. And for the record, I'm one of the few people who was like, please, no, I want you to. Seriously, please. For two reasons. Number one, Chris and I could build a podcast just on that subject alone and never run out of material. And number two, I want them to run their worst players, man. Like, seriously, I don't want them to run, not that they have one, but I don't want them to run Jordan. I want them to go way past Pippen, way past all those guys, to the guy at the end of the bench that they never play ever, that is lucky just to fucking dress and sit there on the court. I want them to run that person, because then it's just like, oh, so you mean my guy's going to win? Great. Like, no issues with that. So everyone's thinking like it's going to be, you know, she's announcing I'm running in 2028 and everything. And as it turns out, that is not the case at all. As a matter of fact, it was something way more benign, I guess is what I would call it. But let me go ahead and share a screen with you guys so that you guys can see it. Bear with me just a second. All right, we're going to play this. All right, here we go.
What's going on with Kamala HQ?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. I have good news. So Kamala HQ is turning into headquarters, and it's where you can go online to get basically the latest of what's going on, and also to meet and revisit with some of our great, courageous leaders, be they elected leaders, community leaders, civic leaders, faith leaders, young leaders. I'm really excited about it. So stay engaged, and I'll see you out there. Thank you.
Okay. You guys are going to have to really help me out here, because I'm just going to be very honest with you. I've watched this like several times, and I have one simple question. What in the fuck did she just say?
Yeah,
like,
she's,
I literally don't know.
Kamala HQ to get your latest on all of the Kamala goodness, I guess.
Yeah, dude. Like, I saw that and I was like, wait, what?
She does that thing that Hakeem Jeffries does, where, you know, like when a normal person talks with their hands, or they kind of gesture a little bit.
Yeah.
Hakeem Jeffries, they go very frantic with their hands, and it's a distracting mannerism, right? Like, you can't, like, today on Kamala.com HQ, like, stop, do it, put your hands down, Ricky Bobby. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, and you know, listen, they gave her $1 billion to buy a presidency, and she ended up $20 million in debt. This is not a person that I would allow around my business or my money. She's retarded.
Yes, no, she's straight up retarded. I would not hire her to run a fucking water fountain, like, let alone a country. Like, I mean, there's a special level of retardation for this kind of shit, where you listen to this woman talk, And I'm honestly like, it's to the point where I had to like sit myself down and be like, all right, let me sit down. Let me give this woman the floor and let me just see what she actually has to say. Like, I want to hear it. And I'm trying to listen to it. And it's like the definition of fucking word salad. Like, I know that politicians love to do that where they say a bunch of things, but they absolutely say nothing. She is like a fucking jujitsu black belt in that, where she just says absolutely nothing. She says just nothing even relevant to the question. Like, there's tap dancing around things, and then there's just like being in a completely different galaxy of retard where I'm like, what are you fucking talking about?
But I think there's a fundamental difference. I honestly believe that she doesn't know what she's talking about, as opposed to, I know the answer, but I'm going to side skirt it and I'm going to give you a bunch of, word salad and not give you an answer because I don't want to get myself into. I literally believe that she is too dumb to know what the answer actually is.
You're right. Like the old adage says, never attribute to malice, which you can more easily attribute to incompetence. No, it's the short answer is she's stupid. And that's how stupid people talk. Like, she's being asked questions where she is completely out of her depth. She has no idea what she's fucking talking about. And all she can do is misdirect. She's like a really bad magician. Like, when you think about it, like her sleight of hand sucks, because the whole point of a good magician is like they have you focusing over here when they don't want you to be focusing over here. And she is so bad at getting people to look at that because everyone's still looking right here being like, what are you talking about? Like, what the hell did you just say? Like, well, we had to go into the country, like we've been to the border, but have you been to the border? We've been to the border, but have you been to the border? Well, I haven't been to Europe either. Well, you're not the fucking vice president of Europe, are you? You stupid moron.
Right.
Jesus Christ. Like, I'm just like, oh my, like, I'm not even looking for a reason to demonize and hate her. Like, you could take the liberal, take the politics, take her running for president out of this. If this was just a normal person that I was having a conversation with and they're talking to me this way, my reaction is going to be the same way. Like, I'm going to try and get to the bottom. Like, maybe they just suck at talking. Like, let me help them out a little bit. And then they just keep doing the circular thing. I'm just going to reach that point of frustration where I'm going to be like, can you fucking speak English, please? Like, what the hell are you babbling about? That is the level of frustration where I'm like, lady, just shut the fuck up. Just stop talking and go away.
Yeah, for sure.
But please run for president.
I don't know what if she's trying to get her own social media, like Trump has Truth Social or something like that. She's getting
or something
Kamala.com or something like it's unbelievable. She's unbelievable.
Did you notice the URL? A lot of keen eyes pointed this out. It's HQ 6-7.
Oh my God.
I know. Like, you want to talk about like desperately trying to pander to the lowest common denominator. Like, seriously. Like, that's when you got to be really desperate.
With her hands. Kamala 6-7.
Maybe 6-7 is about her. Maybe it's just been code from the fucking Gen Z, and like we just haven't been smart enough to pick it up. Like, they're saying, like, dude, she's 6'7". Like, okay, like if that's what you fucking morons have been trying to say this entire time, okay, fine. Why didn't you just say that? But whatever. I digress. I don't know, dude. It's exhausting. Like, every time I think about her, dude, like I feel like I'm getting stupider just listening to this fucking woman talk. But I legitimately want her and AOC to run for president. I want them to run on the same ballot. I'm dead fucking serious. Run it. Seriously. Let's go. Run it. I want them to run it because, dude, if there is any sense of fairness, if our elections are even half fucking fair, there is no version of reality where those two win the presidency. That is not possible. That the overwhelming majority of people in this country can be that dumb. Like, maybe 40% of them, I could believe that are like that level of retard, but I'm like, over half, no fucking way. Like, no, dude. Like, that's like the fucking law of averages prevents that and shit. Like, this, nah, I don't buy the math. So, but no, seriously, run. Like, if that's all you got, shit, run Hakeem Jeffries as your Secretary of State pick. Like, sure. And Bernie Sanders is like Secretary of Treasury. You have my permission, hippies. Like, seriously, do your fucking worst. Let's see what you got. All right. So we can put the pause on politics for a minute. We'll come back to that towards the end of the podcast. But I want to talk about some nerdy shit, Chris. I want to do a deep dive. Like this is, I'm almost disappointed that you gave me your list. I should have said like, don't fucking tell me, but I've forgotten half of what you said anyways. So
I'll tell you why I did that. I was doing a toy podcast, you know, a toy live stream, not a podcast. And one of the questions that was asked was like, what are your, you know, top 3 favorite toy lines of all time?
Okay.
You know, this is kind of a standard question that you get, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the host and I, we didn't put something together, and we both had 2 of the same things on our list and in different order. So when I talked about, you know, how vintage Star Wars was the greatest toy line or the second greatest toy line of all time, in my opinion, I was giving all these reasons why. Well, that was his number 1.
Of course.
So I basically squashed his push. Like a wrestling term would be, I buried him, right? I've just buried him because now what he's saying has no meaning. Yeah. So I gave you my list. So, you know, we didn't do that, hopefully, but this is going to be awesome.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to keep mine. If it's okay with you, I'm going to go first. I'm going to keep mine somewhat succinct, but I told you that there's, I preface this, guys. So basically we're picking our top 3 comic book films of all time. So I know what Chris's list is. I only remember a couple of them. I'll be honest with you, because I'm kind of trying to dial in on like why I picked my 3, but there's really no crosstalk between his and my list. And honestly, I love that because that's what I wanted. I didn't want us to pick the same things. I'm like, that's fucking boring. So as I told Chris, here's my criteria for this. I did not pick the ones that I thought were the best movies, like the best overall movies. Like for example, Avengers Endgame, one of the most entertaining movies I've ever seen. One of the best endings to any movie I've ever seen. It's fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, it happens to be a comic book movie, but I didn't pick that because it didn't fit the criteria of like, I'm picking what I feel were the best adaptations of the source material, meaning like which ones respected the source material to the point where like the look, feel, vibe, characters, dialogue, ambiance, color palette, all of those things were on brand with the actual source material. Like that was kind of my criteria. So you could say that like at least 2 of the ones I picked are definitely dark horses. Like one of them is kind of the elephant in the room, and it's the one where it's on you and my list, Chris. It was in your honorable mentions, but since it's on my list, I'll just go ahead and talk about it.
Oh, here we go.
First one chronologically. All right, guys, Superman, 1978. Without this movie, there would be no comic book movies. Full stop, fucking period. That is a fact. That is not an opinion. This was literally the progenitor of the species. When making a comic book movie was so risky that getting funding for something, and you know, this isn't like, we're not talking about like a kind of a dark horse character where I'll just pick, you know, like Blade. Like a lot of people in the world didn't know who Blade was until the movie came out. Like I knew, guys like Chris and I knew because we're fucking nerds, but like the populace at large had no idea that Marvel had like a vampire slaying comic book character. Like we're not talking about that where it's off the beaten path. We're talking about fucking Superman, dude. Like there's like Jesus, Santa Claus, and Superman in that order. As far as worldwide, everyone knows what he looks like, what the logo is. It is unmistakable. It's not even just part of American culture. It is part of human culture. So why do I feel that this is one of the greatest comic book films of all time? Several reasons. Number one, I'm just going to say like it looks and feels like the comic book world of Superman was brought to life on the screen, meaning they're showing Metropolis and it's got like hints of the 70s and stuff, you know, the time period that it was made, like when he comes out for the first time and he passes a pimp and the kid's like, say kid, woo, that's a bad outfit. I mean, that's very 70s. Like he's got his hose around him and shit. And I'm like, yeah, it's the 70s. But at the same time, when you look at the way Metropolis looks, it almost has an Art Deco kind of vibe. Like it almost looks like this city that's like timeless. You know, where it could be in the 30s, but it could be in the 70s. It's kind of somewhere in between where you don't really know what year it is. And they brought Superman to the big screen in the 70s, in the post-war era of America, and they made it applicable. like to the populace at large, post Vietnam War, like post sexual revolution, all these other things. So many things have changed since Superman was created, and they made it palatable and applicable to society at large, where it's like the values that he exudes, like truth, justice, and the American way. Like, I'm here, like, who are you? A friend. Like, all of these things that made him this fucking paragon of what the measure of a superhero is, like the gold standard that all of them will forever be compared to. There's got to be somebody at the top, and it's Superman. And I just felt like so much love and care and good artistic choices were put into that to make it timeless. Like, I watched it recently, guys. It still holds up. Like, it really does. Like, you still believe a man could fly. And in my opinion, to this day, still the best costume change ever put on fucking film. The very first time that you see him basically become Superman, go from Clark Kent mode to Superman mode. He's literally running down the street, long, wide fucking tracking shot. He's running towards the camera. I'm sure you guys know the one I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And the Superman theme is about to hit for the first time. And the fucking shirt comes open. You see the logo, John Williams score hits. And like, bro, I'm hitting right now. Like that. I will never forget that scene for the rest of my fucking life. I was like, okay, everything else is playing second fiddle to this. Like, this is how you do this correctly. Mm-hmm. And you make this work. So Superman, to me, like, I'm not listing these in any particular order, guys, but it's like, if I had to pick a number one, like, I'm going to pick the one that set the gold standard that, again, is still held to that standard, in my opinion, to this day. So
yeah, I love Superman 77. It's everything that you just said. The risk, the CGI wasn't what it was back in that time, but they made very calculated and very smart choices when it came to like the CGI stuff. The other thing that I really enjoy about that movie is they spent a generous amount of time, not too much time, on the origin story, and then a generous amount of time, but not too much time, on Superman, in the big city, as it were. And Christopher Reeve is timeless. You know what I mean?
Perfect.
It's a classic. And like you said, it's a movie that other comic book movies get measured to.
Absolutely. Okay, so I've got two more, and I've got one quick honorable mention. All right, so here's where we get into dark horse territory, especially my number 3.
Do you want me to give one? Do you want to do back and forth, or do you want to just give your whole list?
I'm going to give my list because I think mine's going to be short. Like, okay. Superman was the only one I was going to drag out just to kind of set the standard here.
Nice.
Okay, so my second is the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which, in my opinion, is still the best Turtles movie ever made. And I don't think it's just the best Ninja Turtles ever made. I think, in my opinion, it is the best comic book movie of the 1980s, even though it technically came out in 1990, but they were filming it in 1989. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of hate in the comments because everyone else is going to be like, but what about fucking Batman 89? Guys, I like that movie, but it is not even close in a fucking fight between that and TMNT. As far as like which one is like slavishly loyal to the source material, TMNT wins out of the gate, knockout in the first fucking round. It's not close. And why do I say that? Guys, they made like this dark, even though it was made for kids, like you couldn't do this today, especially under the guise of a PG rated movie, but they made a dark comic book movie for kids. Like Casey Jones like kills the fucking Shredder at the end intentionally, by hitting the release on the fucking trash truck to basically smush him. I mean, it turns out he didn't actually kill him, but like he was intending to fucking murder him.
Well, he did say oops, so that's an accident to me.
That's plausible deniability is what that is, sir. So like the fight choreography, like they've got real guys like Ernie Reyes Jr. is the stunt double for Donatello. I'm going to shout out to fucking Josh Peiss. He's the only person in that movie who was the voice and the guy in the suit for one of the Ninja Turtles. He played Raphael. And funnily enough, when Raphael's rolling over the cab after he's chasing Casey Jones, he's also the guy in the back of the taxi cab. That's also the same guy. Like if you listen closely, it's like he's got rap, but it's like dialed down just a little bit. But he has a natural New York accent. Like it's just everything about that movie. And I grew up reading the Ninja Turtles. I have issue number 1. It was one of my first comic books I ever got, where it's dark as shit. And they made that world come to life. Like, full stop. Like, that's the artwork, the way they talk, you know, they save the cowabunga for the end and everything, just like their obsession with pizza. Like, it hits every single fucking mark that you wanted to hit, dude. And it was still something you could bring your kids to, like, at the same time. So that's my solid number 2. Again, no particular order on these guys. Now, number 3, here's where we go into real dark horse territory. Because I guarantee you were not thinking this one when I asked you this question, dude, because most people would not. I'm going with Dick Tracy. Now, before the people in the comments start to fucking hang me on this one, guys, let me unpack this. Okay, so my wife had never seen or heard of the Dick Tracy movie until she met me. We actually watched it together for the first time recently, got the Blu-ray and everything, and she was vaguely familiar with the character, but she had no idea the movie existed. And within the first 15 or 20 minutes of us watching the movie, she's like, this movie should have won an Oscar. And I'm like, what for? She's like art direction, costume design. I was like, it did actually. So, like, it did. It actually won for, I believe it's best costume. Don't quote me on that, but like one of the ancillary Oscars, like best art direction, something like that, because the colors, like the bright costumes and everything. We were talking last time where my complaint with modern movies is like, they're so afraid of color. Like, yeah, this movie is the opposite of that. This movie is nothing but color. It literally looks like they took the comic strip and put it on the big screen, like in bright kind of Art Deco 1930s color palettes and everything. The cast of characters, dude, fucking Al Pacino is playing Al Pacino, basically. Like, I mean, he's the mob boss. He's basically playing like a cartoonish version of Michael Corleone. And, you know, Dustin Hoffman is Mumbles. Like, you just go down the list, man. Like, I mean, granted, is Warren Beatty at the height of his power since he's like directing this thing, and he had a lot of really famous friends where he's like, you motherfuckers owe me a favor. I'm making a movie. Come on, come help me out. And I saw Dick Tracy in the theater when I was a kid, and even then I was like, this movie's amazing, dude. Like, this movie is really great. And you get to see Madonna's boobs through a see-through thing in a PG kids movie. That, again, I saw in the theater, man. Like, when you're watching on celluloid, I was like, it's brief, but when she comes out, when she first meets Dick Tracy, her outfit is very see-through, and she's not wearing the over-the-shoulder boulder holder. That's very obvious. So to like 10, 11-year-old me, I'm like looking over, like, are my parents looking? Like, shit, you know, like, yeah, that, you know, this is Madonna at the height of Madonna, bro. This is her in the Blonde Ambition era at her most attractive, to say the very least. So I've always felt that one was very underserved and very under-recognized. Like, it's because it came out basically at the same time as, like, a year after Batman 89, which everything was getting compared to that. And it just, I don't feel it got the love that it deserved, man. I thought that was a fucking amazing movie, and I'm really mad at Warren Beatty. You know, he still owns the rights to that. The basically the contingency is he has to put out a Dick Tracy, like, whatever kind of art project every 15 years, and he keeps doing that just to hold on to the rights. He's done like a 15-minute special on AMC where he comes out in the character. He did one during the COVID lockdown where he's playing Warren Beatty and he's playing Dick Tracy, and I'm like, look, man, if you want to hold on to the rights, that's cool. And if you wanted to like consult on a Dick Tracy movie because he loves the character so much, that's great. But bro, it's time. You're like 90 or 100 years old at this point. It's time to pass the torch. I'm all for them making a new one, but it's like, dude, come on. Let's if you're gonna hold the rights, do something with it. So that's my top 3. One real quick honorable mention. We'll kick it over to Chris. And again, I guarantee you weren't thinking of this one, but all of this is going to make sense because I'm going to come back around to this as soon as we're done. The Shadow. Again, came out right around the same time as, you know, Dick Tracy, the Batman movies, etc. Very early 90s. Almost no one knew who The Shadow was when it came out, but I did. My dad is part of the silent generation, and he grew up on radio serial dramas. And as a child, when we would go on car ride trips, we would listen to old radio dramas. And one of the ones in very heavy rotation on those car rides was The Shadow. Like, I'd never seen him in a movie or anything like that. They made a bunch of movies of him in the 40s and shit, but like all I'd heard is Orson Welles playing the voice of the Shadow. Like I'd imagine him inside my mind. And when that movie came out, I loved it and still loved it. And I think it's a very underrated movie. Like it's probably one of the few movies that Alec Baldwin is in where I can actually stand him. He's actually pretty fucking good as the Shadow, dude. Like he doesn't suck. So I'm not trying to be edgy. I'm not trying to pick things outside the criteria. Again, like my goal with this was like, what do I feel was like, you took the source material and you gave it your best to put it on the screen. Like who was the most loyal? That's my 3+1. So Chris, take it away. Give us.
All right. Well, in my number 3 spot, I have Iron Man 2008, Jon Favreau. This is the movie that gets credited for kicking off the MCU. And the reason that we have Infinity War and the Infinity Saga is because Jon Favreau took such care in the details of making the movie as if it were panels of the comic just coming to life and being in one cohesive story. I thought that for the first Iron Man movie, it did a really good job of projecting that Iron Man origin story, but also showing Tony Stark as a broken human being. And then before the podcast, it was so fun. I just watched Iron Man 2 with Mickey Rourke, so Iron Man is definitely a movie that I can go back to and watch almost any time. It's just great. Killer soundtrack, the whole thing.
Facts. Coming
in at number 2 is a movie that I feel probably started the MCU, and that is Wesley Snipes in Blade. When I was a kid, I love Spider-Man and Superman, and, but you like the darker characters, the characters that are like in the shadows, and they may be bad guys themselves. You know what I mean? And Blade is certainly one of those characters that kind of walks that line. Like in the movie, there are scenes where, like at the end of the club, where he pops out of the vent and he walks towards the car, and it's like a high shot, and his cape's blowing, and it's like blacks and purples. That looks like a comic book panel, but. Yeah, Blade is definitely number 2 for me, but I'm a massive Spider-Man fan, and the Spider-Verse movies, Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, and shortly to come, Beyond the Spider-Verse, the art style, the way the music fits it, I mean, it literally looks like a comic come to life because it's animated like the comic book. And with the infinite possibilities of a universe, you have infinite possibilities of Spider-Man characters. I just find that 100% intriguing as a book fan and as a fan of Spider-Man. So I'll give you one of my honorable mentions. And when you said this, the first movie that popped in my mind
Give them all.
Michael Jai White as Spawn. And the Spawn movie, when that came out, that was literally, Todd McFarlane Spawn. That was a comic book movie in film form. Just the way they shot, the way the characters look and the transitions, things like that. Another honorable mention that I have, and I love this movie, it's the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2. Again, another just great movie where they did the origins thing in the first one. Now let's get into the real depth and meat and potatoes of these characters and show that they're not as perfect as people think they are. So yeah, plus it's a great film, and that iconic train scene where he's on the front of the train and he's shooting the webs, they made a Lego set out of that, and it's a pretty popular Lego set. So not to throw toys into movies, but I completely forgot about Ninja Turtles. That was a good pick.
Why, thank you, sir. Yeah, I told you that like I wanted to save this for the pod because I wanted to get your general reaction. Like again, guys, I'm honestly not trying to be edgy. I'm just like, all right, like how do I qualify this? Like, do I just go the easy route and I pick like the goddamn mother of all tentpole films and go with Endgame, which is like 15 years of movies building up to that point, like that one shot where he says Avengers Assemble that we've all been fucking waiting for for like a decade and a half. Like, do I pick that? I'm like, I mean, dude, I love that fucking movie. I am so excited to show these movies to my kid when he's older, but I'm like, I got to stay authentic.
There's something romantic about Infinity War and Endgame because of the characters. Everybody loves these characters. You love one of them, you love a couple of them. I may like some different ones, and to see them all together in these movies is amazing. But I will say that I think if we're going with what the best movie in the MCU is, I would probably pick Civil War as the best.
Yes. I wish they had gone. All right. So Winter Soldier, in my opinion, is the best action movie in the MCU. Because it's like a spy thriller, but it's like action. Like it's definitely the best Captain America movie. No contest. Excuse me. But Civil War, I have the entire run of Civil War by Steve McNiven. I've met him in person, and I got it signed by him. And I just thanked him for fucking writing the story. It's one of my favorite comic book runs of all time. I almost wish that they had waited to do Civil War to we'll say 3 years from now, where the X-Men are folded in, Deadpool is folded in, the Fantastic Four is all part of this and everything, because then you could tell the actual story when it's not really this group of superheroes versus that group of superheroes because of politics. I mean, it is, but it gets deeper than that. It's more it almost becomes a political argument because, for those not in the know, the Civil War comic is basically about superhero registration. They pass in the movie, they call it the Sokovia Accord because of what happened there. But in the comic, it's literally called the Superhero Registration Act, where you have literally two sides of the heroes split right down the middle, where you are pro-registration or you're anti-registration. Obviously, the X-Men are fuck that. No, we've been persecuted our entire lives. The entire clan of the X-Men is go fuck yourself. But what's crazy is the person that you would think to be on the side of the government regulation thing isn't, and that's Captain America. So the version that they show in the Civil War movie is very similar to his version of that he is in the comics, where they're basically expecting him to act like an enforcer for the government. He's having an exchange with what's her name? Maria, whatever her name is. She's in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the comics. The chick she never goes that far in the movies, but she's right under Nick Fury, where she's running S.H.I.E.L.D. and she's basically what about Luke Cage? She's is it going to be a problem to bring him in? And Cap's what do you mean? She's can you handle him? He's handle him? He's what are you talking about? He's I'm going to go out and have a conversation with him about this. And she's he's befuddled. He's what exactly are you asking here? And she's basically giving him an order, you're going to bring him in, and if he resists, you're going to kill him. And Cap's no. And she's just why aren't you on board with this? And he's just because this is un-American. He's you have no legislation to support this. He's if you want to go forward with this, fine, let's put this in front of Congress and let me speak to them about this. Let me air the grievances about that. And they basically force Cap's hand, and it's very similar to what you saw in the elevator scene, where he looks over to her and he's just damn you for making me do this. And he just fucking lays waste to all the fucking S.H.I.E.L.D. guys. Then he becomes the leader of the anti-registration resistance. And Iron Man is his counterpart on the other side. But as a comic book fan, I wish they had waited until this point in the MCU, because now everyone that's involved in this, Reed Richards is in pro registration, and the X-Men are anti-registration. So it's now we have all the players where you could actually do this justice. But that being said, do I like that movie? Dude, it's the first one where we got Spider-Man, and he has the perfect reaction to seeing Ant-Man become Giant Man, where he's holy shit. I mean, because people forget, guys, he's a teenager. He's 15 years old. He hasn't seen anything like this before, even though he's Spider-Man. He's just oh my God.
He's new to the superheroing at this point.
He's truly surprised, oh my God, But no, I agree with you on that. Civil War, that I would, if I could retroactively do this, I would make that one of my honorable mentions, just because I love that movie. So cool.
But like you said, it doesn't really follow the source material.
No, it does not.
From the comic to the screen, but they gave us what they could at the time, and now we're going into this, Marvel universe, X-Men universe, Fantastic Four universe, and they're sort of all climbing to a point, and hopefully we get more on that with Doomsday. we kind of
I hope so, man.
The universes tying together.
Just don't screw it up. But I have a prediction, and I just want to put this on.
Yeah.
I want this to be out there in the ether. I really hope I'm right about this, not just because I want to be right, but because this would be really funny. So we know that Deadpool is in the movie, and because some behind the scenes footage was released showing him and Dr. Doom like interacting. So it's like the question becomes like, all right, they're not going to make this an R-rated movie, and it's kind of hard to corral Deadpool in that because, well, he's the merc with a mouth. Like he's a little bit loose with his verbs and his pronouns and his nouns and his adjectives and everything. So I think I know how they're going to handle that, and I think it would be absolutely hilarious if this is the way they do that. I think that they are going to beep out his curse words, but only Deadpool can hear it. Because he's the only comic book character who is aware that he is a comic book character. Like he's the only one that breaks the fourth wall where he's just like, really, Disney? Like, I think it's going to happen where he's going to be like, holy beeping, your doctor beeping. He's going to be like, what is that? Do you hear that?
Yeah.
And he's going to be looking at the camera.
I just told somebody at work that like a week ago. I was like, they're going to do the thing where he's got to tone it down. So the first couple of times he's going to get beeped and he's not going to like it. Then maybe he plays it straight the rest of the movie, and uses some creative language instead of bullshit. He'll say like bull flip and spit or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And on the same token, I want them to run it back where like Captain America like sees something like fucking jaw dropping and they have to beep him.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, holy beep. Like,
and then Deadpool goes, language.
Yeah. Like that I think would be the only way to run it, where he's like, he hears the beep and then he figures it out. He looks directly in camera. He's just like, oh, right. We're not in one of my movies. I forgot. It's Disney. Right. Like where he's aware of who he is. To me, that's the only way you can handle it, because we want him to say it, but at the same time, you want to take your kids to something like this. It's an Avengers movie. Like, I get it. So I told you at the beginning of this, Chris, off camera, that I have an idea for a comic book movie. I have an idea for not only a comic book movie, I have an idea for a series of comic book movies and a new comic book universe that I think would absolutely crush at the box office, because this is untapped and you could get it cheap. So I had AI help me with this, and guys, I had a very long conversation with ChatGPT over this, trying to dial this in and get it right. It's not exactly the way I want it, but this is pretty close. All right. Guys, this is what I would do if you gave me the reins and a budget to make a comic book universe movie. The Phantom, Mandrake the Magician, the Rocketeer, Dick Tracy the Shadow, and the Green Hornet and Kato. And I would call it the pulp noir verse, where all of this would take place in the 30s. It'd be like super art deco and shit. Like all of these guys have appeared basically, I don't think Dick Tracy has, but the rest of them, like they've run across each other in comic books. They all take place at the same time. It's all kind of pre-war type stuff, very, very neo-noir kind of shit. And let me unpack this. Let me give you my full elevator pitch, Chris. All right. So on the surface, to those like who don't know the intricacies of these things, like, okay, what makes these characters different? Like, they're basically a bunch of humans. Like, you got a lot of crosstalk here. All right, let me unpack that. Okay, so you've got Dick Tracy, who's the only cop in the bunch, like hard-boiled, like old school Philip Marlowe style detective, like goes after crime bosses and shit like that. Man of the law, like the quintessential kind of like Superman type good guy, like a Boy Scout, for lack of a better word. You have Mandrake the Magician, who I think would probably be like the linchpin of the series, where the mystical shit is basically what would bring them all together. Like there's something in the mystical universe that Mandrake gets a hold of, where he's got to bring in reinforcements and he's got to call in his friends and shit. They're a little bit out of their depths. He's like the kind of the Doctor Strange of the group, where he's tied into the ethereal shit. Then you got the Phantom. Like the Phantom is the one true legitimate like superhero of the group. Like he's part of a line of guys, spanning back like a million generations, where he's like the latest carrier of the blessing / curse, carrying the mantle of the Phantom. Like he talks to animals and shit, man. He's kind of a cross between like a little bit of Indiana Jones and maybe like Indiana Jones and like Doc Savage. Like he's some kind of somewhere in between, because he's like hanging out in jungles and shit. Like he's going after artifacts and things, like kind of archaeology type thing, much like Indiana Jones. But at the same time, like he's a superhero. Like he wears a costume, wields guns, kicks bad guy ass and shit. Then we go over to the Rocketeer. So the Rocketeer would be a lot of the comic relief of the movie. He'd be like the youngest of the group, where it's like he's just a guy with a jetpack, but Cliff Secord is also a really good person. Like he loves his country, like it's, you know, hates Nazis and all this other shit, like not in the stupid, you know, ultra liberal way. Like he hates like real Nazis, you know, because they're a threat to the United States. And he's kind of like the guy who's just, he's trying to figure out where he fits in. Like that's his role. And then you got the Shadow. The Shadow is like the James Bond character. He's like international network of spies, informants, you know, people he talks to all over the world. Like he's stopping foreign powers from gaining atomic bombs and all this other shit. Like it's just like he's that guy who's like plugged into everything. Then you have the Green Hornet and Kato. They collectively are like the Batman and Robin of the group, because Britt Reed is like the ultra wealthy like media mogul, where he uses his influence at a newspaper that he happens to own to basically bring justice to the people, like to put crime bosses away and shit like that. And, you know, Kato, obviously, you know, bad motherfucker. So I honestly think this could legitimately work, because all of these guys are different. Like it's got to be set in the 30s. And it's got to be like, if it were up to me, like I'm not anti-CG guys, but I would try and lean on that as little as possible. I would be having them use like in-camera effects, using models, like using old school film techniques to try and put this thing together and just kind of maybe enhance it with CG, like make it look, excuse me, as modern as you could. But I want this to look like old school. Like I don't want it to look like a film shot in the 30s, but I want it to look like it is legitimately set in the period that it's in. Mm-hmm. And I'm honestly amazed that no one is working on this at this point. I truly am, because it's like, I'm not the first person to come up with this idea. Again, they've crossed each other in the comics like tons of times. Like the Shadow and the Green Hornet have crossed over. They've crossed over with the Phantom. Like that's not new. And I really thought about this as far as who I wanted to include. Like I thought about maybe putting Buck Rogers in there, but I'm like, then we're dealing with space and shit. Like I want this to take place in like New York City. Like I want it to be like a globe-trotting adventure and everything, but I want this to look like a neo-noir rainy night kind of film. Mm-hmm. Like maybe having Doc Savage in there, but I'm like, well, like the Phantom is kind of like filling that role already. Like he's the old school superhero type. But this, I've given you my pitch, Chris. What do you think?
No, I like it, and I like the limited use of CGI. You know, do it when it's necessary or when you absolutely need it. Yeah. But you know, old school costume design, practical effects. I think with movies, they are so quick to do like 1-2 shots or jump cut very quickly. And this would be a great movie and a great environment for like those long shots. Like Shaun of the Dead, when he walks out of his house and he walks across the street and walks down the corner, goes to the corner store, walks back home. That's all one shot, you know, and they did it twice in that movie. They had the balls to do it twice in that movie. Yeah, that would be great. Like walking, because I'm looking at this and I get like almost Watchmen vibes, you know, from the color palettes and with the rain and the way it's shot. And that, oh God, who did that? Not Frank Miller. Who did the movie, The Watchmen?
Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder would be like the perfect person to have this type of film, because he did it with like Sucker Punch has sort of kind of that look. Watchmen has that look. So yeah, it's nice. I like it.
Like just looking at this picture, I'm like my brain's getting like overwhelmed with ideas. Like I want to see a shot of Green Hornet and Kato like rolling in like Black Beauty, like down the street, their fucking like indestructible car, which was definitely like the progenitor of the Batmobile. Like, yes, the Batmobile fucking stole Black Beauty for sure. And like the Phantom's like riding on top of the car or whatever, and they're charging into fucking battle to go after the bad guys and shit. And like seeing like like you need a little bit of CG help to realize like the Shadow's abilities, you know, because nothing he has is supernatural. He's basically just like, he's like psychically gifted, essentially, where he can like concentrate you through hypnosis and suggestion basically so hard where he can convince you that he's not standing right in front of you. Like the dude's in this like some next level like Jedi mind trick type shit where he can confuse someone to the point where he can be standing right in front of you and you don't know he's there, but
and you give the Rocketeer like all those Guardians of the Galaxy, what's his name, you give him all the Chris Pratt lines.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like,
yes. Oh, and for the record,
he's still sort of earnest and innocent to the whole thing.
Yes, he's very new to this whole thing. Shit. Yeah, because like the Rocketeer is like the only one of the group who didn't like set out to be a hero. He's just a pilot. Like he's just a guy who's like good at flying shit, and he gets a hold of a rocket pack and was like, "Oh, this is fun." Because I get to be a pilot, but I'm literally fucking flying like Superman. But for the record, in that shot with Black Beauty, yeah, the fucking Rocketeer is like blasting right next to the car, like full.
And Phantom would probably be on a horse.
The shot.
He'd have like
he would, but it's like he's got to keep up with a car
down
though.
Main Street on a horse.
Like I want him to like swing down and like attach himself to the car and be like on top of it, and then like Dick Tracy's following them in his car, and like Mandrake is fucking like teleporting and shit. Like I want that to be like the hero shot. Like that's what brings them all together. So that's my pitch, ladies and gentlemen. Again, feel free to fucking steal it. I just want this movie to get made. I want this universe to get made. Like this would be a very, very long process. Because you'd have to make individual movies for this before you put it together and like actually make like the shared kind of Avengers style movie where you do a Shadow movie, a Dick Tracy movie, Phantom movie, Mandrake movie, Rocketeer movie, and a Green Hornet movie, and then you bring them all together for something big. So this would be like a 10+ year affair.
But wouldn't it be? So Marvel did it that way. Wouldn't it be cool if they just like if you just did this movie, and then
I wouldn't be against it,
and then did the origin stories?
I would not be against it, but DC tried that and it didn't work. So it's like they tried that with Justice League, and it's like I'm not saying that it can't be done. Like, would I like them to just kind of get the ball rolling and just get this in here? It would have to be like a 3+ hour movie because you need to fill in the audience as far as who these people are, because most of the people in the audience are not going to have any fucking idea who these people are, and that I think is the problem. Is like you don't need to explain Superman or Batman, but you need to explain these guys.
It's like Dick Tracy. Okay, so who would be like the three that people probably wouldn't know as well? And then you make those three origin stories first and then go back.
I mean, Dick Tracy probably wouldn't need one as much. Like,
yeah,
the Green Hornet, like, mate, but I mean, here's the problem. If you don't do a Green Hornet one, then everyone's going to base it on that garbage fucking Seth Rogen movie that even he has disavowed.
Yeah.
Which is so fucking horrible. The Shadow would probably need an explanation. The Phantom might not, but I actually had an idea of how to tackle this. Where you could limit the number of origin stories that you do, but you could also kind of speed up the process. Excuse me. Like let's say we pick the Shadow movie, like we start out with that one, and towards the end of it, we'll say like in the last like 10 minutes or so, we get like a condensed version of an explanation of the Green Hornet, where they kind of not cross paths, but kind of sort of do, where it's folded into the story, where we get like the background on Britt Reed and Kato and everything like that. Like maybe the Shadow runs into them when they're not in their superhero garb. Again, he's a media mogul. He's a public persona, much like Bruce Wayne. He owns a newspaper, excuse me, which back in the 30s was a big deal. He's very rich. And a lot of people don't know this one. The character Britt Reed is the grandson of the Lone Ranger. They are connected. The Lone Ranger is his grandfather because his name is John Reed, and they were created by the same person. So I was like, that's kind of awesome. So it's like, when you think about it, like Green Hornet is kind of the 1930s version of the Lone Ranger. And he even has a Tonto type person to go with him in the vein of Kato. So that's the way that I would handle it, is where you fold a little bit into, let's say we do like 3 origin movies, where you do a Shadow movie, you do a Phantom movie, and we'll say Mandrake the Magician, since he's kind of the dark horse. And the other guys you just fold in little tiny segments where it's very obvious that it's building to something. Kind of like little pieces, kind of like the Marvel cameos, but just not not specifically stingers at the end of the movie. Like, give it 10 or 15 minutes. Like, make it actually part of the plot. And that to me is how I would build it. Again, why am I not getting paid for this, dude? Like, I should be doing this shit professionally. Like, I'm giving away ideas for free. But there is my idea, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hearing my elevator pitch. Oh, what's up? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading your name. Revex comedian. What's up, brother? I know you as I Like It Bareback, dude. I recognize the logo. You think Dick Tracy would be the best first intro to get the ball rolling? I don't disagree with you, Mr. Penguin. That actually wouldn't be bad. What about the Epstein statements about, what does it say? Goyams? I don't know if that's true. What's a goyam? Is that like a buzzword and I just don't know?
Yeah, I think it's used for like it has to do with like non-Jewish person or non.
So an outsider,
Something.
like a gaijin, essentially. Okay.
Something.
No worries. Don't know, bro. Oh, thanks, Mr. Penguin. See, Mr. Penguin sold. I've already sold one movie.
Sold one ticket,
thanks.
probably a T-shirt.
Thanks, buddy.
And he'll buy it on Blu-ray with the special features.
Maybe so. All right. So we got to talk at least about a little bit of video game shit, even though I didn't think of this being funny until now. Just I think it's funny because of the previous conversation that we had on the first episode where we found out that Chris is not a massive fan of zombie games, but I'm hoping he'll give this one a chance because this is the first ever video game that's creatively involved the legendary, the one, the only master of horror, John Carpenter. Like, my personal favorite director of all time. Like, that's such an incredible catalog, such a list of fucking bangers. And a lot of people don't know this, guys. He's very retired and he's just playing Xbox. That's literally what he's doing with his retirement. He's a gamer now. He thinks games are better than movies. And I'm like, for the most part, you're not wrong, actually. Like, as a rule, we get more quality video games than we do more quality movies. It used to be pretty close to 50-50, but like, and the video games are starting to slip a little bit, but I would say that's true. And so naturally, Saber Entertainment, the guys behind the World War Z video game, which not a great game, but it's okay. Like, it's fun. It's a cool co-op experience. I was actually just playing it the other night with a buddy of mine because even though that game came out, like 7 or 8 years ago, they're actually still supporting it. They just released a Walking Dead patch for it where you can play as Rick, Michonne, Daryl, and Negan. And they actually had to slow the zombies down because in World War Z, they're all like turbo fucking fast. Yeah. And in The Walking Dead, they're slow. So all of the zombies behave like walkers, like they did on the show. They don't move fast or anything. They can overwhelm you, but like, I think they only got Norman Reedus to do the voice. The rest of them sound like sound-alikes. I don't even know if it's Norman Reedus, to be perfectly honest. But so Saber Interactive, responsible for that. Moderately successful game. It got a sequel. And apparently they wanted to work with John Carpenter on something. And Carpenter's like, well, I have an idea for a video game. Like, if you guys are interested. And it's apparently the title is Toxic Commando, where it's John Carpenter for the first time ever giving us his version of the zombie apocalypse. Like, some people could make the argument that he kind of touched on that in Prince of Darkness.
Ghost of Mars.
That's like maybe Ghost of Mars, but I mean, that one's about aliens. Prince of Darkness is about Satan. Like, it's like sorta, but I mean, I'm talking like the stereotypical zombie apocalypse thing, meaning like it's a virus, you know, or something like that. Like, it's an infection type of thing. So I thought we would real quick just look over the trailer that they released recently that I thought looked amazing, especially the fact that it's 4-player co-op. I was like, you immediately have my attention when you start showing that kind of shit. 4-player co-op is like the new benchmark. All right, here we go.
You see my new toy?
You have like powers and shit. Let me reduce it and see if I can get the bandwidth back on. So, yeah, I'm kind of there for that. Hang on one second, guys. I'm trying to get my screen back here. What in the world is going on right now? Oh, Chris, center screen.
Put me on the big screen. Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
I am now
trying to figure it out. Okay. You are. Okay, here we go. Okay. Yeah, it starts to freak out when I start to share the screen. There we go.
Freak out.
So what do you think, Chris? Be honest.
I'm not a big first person shooter guy. They kind of gives me that weird like vertigo thing when I play first person shooters. And it's one of those things like, I teach firearms, so I'm around guns all the time. So I don't really want to come home and play a game where I'm shooting more fucking guns. But if there's anybody that I believe could make a really good zombie game, it's John Carpenter, So I think it'll be good.
I'm willing to give this one a shot. Again, they did a pretty decent job with World War Z. Like, they were kind of a newer studio at that point. Like, it wasn't their very first game, but they didn't have the years of development and game support and everything that they now have under their belt, 2 games later and all these years support, and all the patches that they've done for those games have been pretty impressive, to say the very least. So I'm more than willing to give this a shot, especially like 4-player co-op. All the characters will be interesting. Again, if Mr. Carpenter really had a hand in this thing, being like the guy coming up with the story and everything like that, the dialogue's going to be awesome. The characters are going to be interesting. Like, I'm here for this. Like, I'm glad that we got one game out of dear old John before he croaks. Guys, he's in his 80s. Like, he's not getting any younger. Like, he's still pretty sharp. When you watch the interviews with him, he's still pretty talkative, and he gets more sarcastic the older he gets. Like, his old man don't give a fuck just gets better and better with every year that he stays alive. So I personally am willing to give this one a shot. I think it looks amazing. But I tell you what, if you're watching this video after the fact, go ahead and drop us a comment, man. Let us know. What do you think about Toxic Commando? And what do you think about our podcast? And if you hate it, you can just go ahead and leave a comment anyways, because, like, don't be a bitch. Like, get in the ring. Just saying. Like, I mean, personally, like, if you really have that much of a problem with everything we're saying, I don't know what else to say other than,
If you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you!
I can't say it any better than that. So,
holy road dog.
I mean, dude, Road Dogg and Mr. Ass.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's his actual name. Used to be just Badass Billy Gunn, but no, it's Mr. Ass.
Used to be Rockabilly.
It did used to. Wow, man, we're going deep on that one.
And then they let him win the King of the Ring, and he wasted that one. He wasted that one too.
Yes. All right, so let's jump back into a little bit of politics here, just a little bit. We've given him definitely plenty of nerd treatment here, but there's just so much gold that they're throwing us, man, that I can't help but inject some of this into the pod just because it's out there. All right. So for, all like 3 of you out there who actually like watch the Grammys, I don't, haven't in years, and frankly don't give a shit. I don't watch award shows because it's
I'm not
stupid.
12.
No, I'm not 12 and not lived on a farm and not retarded. No, there's a much bigger world out there than the Grammys. But apparently they did not take any of the very wise Mr. Ricky Gervais's advice, where he just basically told them, a couple of Grammys ago, like, just, or the Golden Globes or whatever he hosted, where he's just like, get up here, like, thank your agent, thank your family or whatever, like, say your thank yous, then fuck off. Like, no one cares what you think. Like, you don't know anything about real life. Just shut up. And his tweet about this was perfectly on brand. It was just one sentence. They still aren't listening. And they're not. Like, they obviously haven't gotten the point. So what are we talking about? All right. a lot of stupid nonsense that night, but we'll go ahead and pick on the elephant of the room just because it's the funniest. Billie Eilish. I've never heard a single song from her and don't really care to. But she was echoing the extremely liberal, like regurgitated talking point of like no one is illegal on stolen land. Couple things to say about that, but before we unpack that, I just have to point out the funny part of this. So her like $14 million like mansion is sitting on land owned by the Tongva tribe, which is like the original indigenous folks who lived in the Los Angeles area. And they basically told her, like, hey, like, if you're, willing to shelter us and stuff, and you're willing to give your land back, like, we're absolutely games. We've been trying to get it back for decades, if not a century at this point. And there's I believe it's an LA law firm who agreed to take the case pro bono. And said, like, we'll take this to court, like we'll bring in discovery and everything like that. Since she's so big on the idea of like no one is illegal on stolen land, and like people have tested that, going to her property and saying like, wow, like no one's illegal. Well, can I come in and hang out? There's I forget the gentleman's name, a British like YouTube reporter that goes up there, and it's like, what's crazy about this place is like, okay, so this is on like stolen land, like, that she says no one is illegal on, but there's like a wall, there's like security, like you can't just enter or whatever. You think it'd just be wide open, like a wide open plain that anyone could go and hang out in, but like this looks more like a fortress. And Billie Eilish has apparently responded to this saying like, like, just, I paid for this, like, leave me alone. It's like, oh, so you're admitting then that like it's not really stolen land, it's like it's occupied land. There's no really such thing as stolen land. There's conquered land. There is occupied land. But if we're going to use the word stolen, then, well, I mean, half of France is stolen because of the Vikings. Almost all of the United Kingdom is stolen because of the Celts, and half of the planet is stolen because of Genghis Khan. So it's like, like, where do you draw the line on this? Like, if that's really the way you're going to go with this, like, where is the proverbial line on this? But the lesson to be learned here, kids, the liberal talking point that I've always found to be the most irritating, and I'm sure this is not going to be a shock to you, Chris, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I am so sick and tired of hearing the sentence that America was founded by immigrants. No, it wasn't. It never has been, and that's not true. America is not was not originally an immigrant nation. America was founded by settlers, not immigrants. There's a difference, because the settlers came to a place where there was literally nothing, and they made it into something. And then after that, like once we became a nation, I guess, like, after we passed our founding document, that's where immigration came in. But people don't realize that like 100 years passed between A and B on that. It wasn't just like we got here and we decided to go to war with the British, like full stop. Like, no, there's a fucking century between those two things, like the 1600s to the late 1700s, over 100 years before you can connect those two dots. And I know this doesn't apply to everyone. And guys, for the record, I want to make something very, very clear. I am the furthest thing from being anti-immigrant, for reason being, I am married to one. My wife is from El Salvador, but she came here legally. My child is biracial. There's no racism nonsense or like, oh, you're just anti-brown people. Well, I fucking, co-opted with one and we made a fucking hybrid species. So yeah,
you're hiding it. You're hiding in plain sight.
I knew it. Yeah, I'm the worst racist ever, because I not only married one, but now I'm legally bound to one, because if I divorced her, I'd have to pay child support to my biracial child. Like, yes, I'm a horrible racist. But let me tell you a little quick thing, and I'll kick it over to you, Chris. All right. So I can shout out to my sister on this, because she got really bored during one of her 2 pregnancies and decided to go really like deep into the family tree, and actually went really extensively into our 2 bloodlines. And I kind of took that and ran with it. Like, she did one side of the family and I did, Fox, like my paternal side of it. It revealed a couple of very interesting things. Number one, I'm the first male in my paternal bloodline to not have served in the U.S. military. I'm literally fucking Lieutenant Dan on that kind of, like, every single war, and I'm talking about even the bullshit ones that no one cares about. I'm talking like the fucking Spanish-American War and the War of 1812, like not the sexy ones, like not just World War I and World War II and Vietnam. Like, no, even the crappy fucking wars, for lack of a better word, that don't get any of the hula. Every single war, every single conflict that America has been in, predating the Declaration of Independence. My family has been here since the 1600s with the same last name. So if the notion of like, America was founded by immigrants, well, my ancestors weren't immigrants because they've been here since before America was America. They were here almost a century before the founding fathers were even born. So it's like, if we're a nation founded by immigrants, then what were my ancestors? You can't be an immigrant if you're in a place that's not a nation, because you have to immigrate to a nation. So what happens if it's before America was America, or even the word America existed? That's stupid. So that sentence has always thoroughly irritated me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, settlers go to a place where there's no established government, no law of the land, and they build a society. Immigrants then go to that society to take advantage of opportunities and build a life for themselves. And where we've seen this a little bit in the news, I mean, it was kind of a big thing in South Africa. When the Dutch settlers settled in Cape Town, there were no Africans there.
No.
At all. They were further north. It's almost like they had not even discovered that part of South Africa yet by the coast. So the Dutch, settled that part of South Africa, and, now the Africans want their land back. And I don't disagree with them, but I would say there is a peaceful way to get through that and sort of legislate that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought Billie Eilish was going to be Hey Stupid this week, because what she said was so profoundly dumb, active stage, to where you're right. You have a $14 million home that is sitting literally on stolen land.
Yes.
Okay.
Stolen.
And you're complaining about, ICE and taking these immigrants. I don't see you taking any immigrants into your home.
Yeah.
So again, it's that fake rage, that selective rage, that hypocritical rage from the left that is the most annoying. Like, if you were to come at me with facts or something like that, and I just didn't agree with your facts, or, I had my idea and you had your idea, which was, left-wing nonsense, we could just disagree. But the fact that she felt as a half retard to go on stage and say that in front of the world, again, that was their little Democrat safe space, to where we can do this here and not get in trouble for it. Oops, look, we're getting some pushback for it. Yeah, she's like she looks like she's either half retarded or half stoned. I don't know.
More both.
She can do whatever she wants, but yeah, it's one of these things where it's like, what the Native American tribes were doing to each other before we got here, you don't think they were conquering each other's lands?
Of course they were.
So it's the way of the world, man. It's manifest destiny. It's globalism. It's opening up those supply lines, and it's like, well, Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. There were already people here. No, I get that, but he opened it up to he discovered it for the rest of the world.
Yes.
Not that he physically was like, I'm the first person to step foot on North Carolina.
Yeah.
He opened this up as a trade route for the rest of the world. That, by the way, the entire world enjoys trade with the United States and trade routes through the United States. So again, like I always say, and I'll say it a million times during the course of this podcast, and I agree with you 100%, that fake rage, that hypocritical rage that the left does, it is literally the most annoying thing that they do.
I'd also like to point out that because of the bloodline thing I just told you about, where like my ancestors have literally been defending this country since before it was a country, I think I can unequivocally say that to 99.9% of the people in this country, I'm more American than you are. So, just to gaslight, not in seriousness, guys. Yeah. Like I like to joke with people about that. especially with the wife when she's like, what are we going to tell like the little one, when he's older about our bloodlines? I'm going to tell him that his old man is the single most American motherfucker that he's ever going to meet.
America.
Like, Dad, Jimbo is fucking American to the core, dude. Like, you're part of this proud bloodline that's been spanning back centuries, dude. Oh, and just for the record, before anyone gets any ideas, yes, there was a member of the Fox clan who served in the Civil War, and yes, they were on the correct side of history. It was I forget the gentleman's name, like Nathaniel Fox or something. I can't remember. I've got it listed somewhere, but he was an artilleryman for the Union Army. So even my ancestors were like, yeah, fuck racism. So like again, all I'm just going to say is, I can't say it for me because I feel like the slacker in the bunch because I'm the only one not to serve in a conflict, but it's like, you're welcome, America. I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you. You're welcome. So it's like, all the Fox people have been like, risking/giving their lives, to defend America. Again, before it was even a fucking country. Even my father, man, fucking Vietnam, fighting off the commies, but I guess I missed my turn in the fucking sandbox. That would be the only one I could have been applicable to as I was in my early 20s.
Yeah, you got distracted looking at Leva's amazing Wavos.
You said it,
call
not
back
me.
the last episode. If you didn't watch the last episode of Regeneration X podcast, make sure you go to the Retro Game Lounge and watch it. You'll catch that reference. And we're going to make a lot of callback references moving forward, so you better catch up.
Since you hyped it, I think we have to deliver on it now, dude.
Yeah, all right.
Let me see if I've got it here somewhere. Bear with me a second.
Bro, you got caught red-handed. Like you're like, having
guilty.
a Ganzi. There he is. Oh, yeah.
I was not lying. That is that's me taking a photo of my television. That is from the live raw broadcast.
And that's on the network.
It is. I can't remember. It's episode 300. I gave you the episode number. I'll put that out there in the ether. But yeah, you can go and look it up. This is real. So yeah, one of my prouder moments from my early 20s, I would say.
Yeah.
I was 20ing right. I think
I was going to go in the military like everybody else in my family. Then I saw Lita's giant tits and I was like, the military just ain't for me. I'm going to be about these two things right here.
I was busy limping with the biscuit, man. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, being a fucking rock and roll rebel, man. I mean, dude, you know what? Like if I could go back in time, would I do it differently? Maybe. But at the same time, it's like, I kind of got to be my own Fox, man. Like, I got to be the one that like did his own thing for once. So it's like, it doesn't totally suck when you think about it. I get to be the one breaking the chain. I'm sure my ancestors would be like, you fucking pussy, shut up. Like, put on the suit, get out there and defend freedom, bitch. Sorry, guys. Like, I'm keeping the bloodline going. Like, I produced a male child, so my name isn't going to die with me since my father's an only child. Yeah, no pressure, Jimbo, right? So no, he's the carrier of the name. By the way, I thought it was I was laughing inside the whole time when we were talking about like the games that you don't particularly like last time, and you named like Bomberman. I actually have a short but funny story about that. So I mentioned like I've got a Bomberman shrine in the room, and I do. It's right over there. Yeah. Oh, come on, at least show one of the good Bomberman games. Come on now. Like if you're gonna do that, show like Bomberman 2 on the NES.
I don't have that one.
That's the better. It's an expensive game.
I have Second Attack though.
Second Attack is good. The Super Bomberman series to me is the peak. But okay, so I'm a TurboGrafx geek. Like you and I have had this conversation, Chris. Like I have been since 1989 when the system came out. Like I have my original one in the box. Like it's something I've loved literally since I was 10 years old and still do to this day. So my son's name is Hudson. You can probably figure out why. So I snuck that past the wife because she didn't know where I came up with that. Like I knew. She just liked the sound of it and everything. I didn't tell her until it was already too late. It's like I named him after the people that created the TurboGrafx. And shockingly enough, she wasn't mad, but I can tell you why. Because I loaded the deck on this one. Because she was like, "What do you want to name your kid?" I was like, "Bomberman." And she's like, "You're serious?" I'm like, yes. She's like, Bomberman Fox. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you're not like, oh, really? Like, yeah, I was going to go to school like Bomberman Fox. I'm like, that is the coolest fucking name I've ever heard in my entire life. And she's like, we're not naming Bomberman Fox. I was like, all right, what about Hudson? Oh, okay. I like the sound of that. I was just like, see, I took a Trump approach where it's like, you go big, and then you bring him back down here.
Yeah, you really want this over here, but you go crazy. Like, we want to own Greenland, and then you bring it back.
I mean, it was either that or Adam, because of He-Man, but I'm like, it's a little too on the nose. But for a very short while, we thought we were going to have a girl because there was a little bit of a mix up at the lab, when they do the gender test. There's only 2 genders, by the way, people.
Yeah.
Fucking fuck off. And we thought we were having a girl for like a week. So we already had a name picked out, and I was able to sneak in a little fucking Motu shit. The middle name was going to be Adora.
Mm.
And again, she didn't figure it out. She's just like, Adora. She's like, where did you come up with that? I was like, it's Shiro's real name. She's like, what? I was like, it's Shiro's real name. She's like, that's why you wanted Adam? I was like, my lawyer has advised me not to discuss that.
I'm not discussing my day with you, ma'am.
No. So I found it funny. We were just like, I don't like Bomberman. I was like, damn, dude, way to shit on my kid.
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that at all. All I said was there are game franchises that don't resonate with people, like first-person shooters and Bomberman and Resident Evil. There's not games for me,
I just found it funny because you and I had that conversation. You're just like,
now I'm backpedaling.
I was like, damn, bro. like, I'm really glad I named him Hudson now.
Is this middle initial B, Hudson B?
No, he actually has an even cooler middle name. Because I guarantee you, I got to set the stage before I tell you what it is. I guarantee you he is never going to meet another human being with his name. His middle name is Huckleberry.
Hudson Huckleberry?
I mean, HH5.
I don't know anybody with that name.
I mean, I was originally going to make Huckleberry his first name, but I was like, let me not saddle the kid with that much weight. Like, let's move it. Let's move it to the right. So it's, make it the middle name. But I was like, Hudson Huckleberry Fire. I was like, yeah. But dude, the fucking nurses in the NICU, my son was a preemie. He came out a month early. Oh my God. They were eating this shit up. And these are women who are around newborns professionally. And they were like, that is the most original and cool name we have ever heard. They couldn't get enough. They're like, oh my God, that's so cute. They just loved it. Came out with a head of blonde hair and everything, man. Full head of hair. Yeah, like, what happened to you, Jimbo? I used to have blonde hair, guys. So, because they're looking at the wife, who looks very El Salvadorian, very, very dark hair, and they're like, the fuck? And I'm like, do you guys think I was born like this? Jesus Christ, man. Like, I had hair when I was young. I had I know you couldn't see it in the picture of me and Lita. When my wife met me, I had a I'm going to go out on a limb here and say beautiful Chris Hemsworth Thor mane of blonde hair down in my shoulders, which she would agree with. She was like, dude, your hair she's like, you made me jealous and I'm a fucking girl. I put way more time in my hair than you did. I'm like, did you? You sure about that?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I thought that was funny as shit. And I had to like kind of contain my laughter when he said that last time. I was like, damn, like next thing I know, he's going to shit on Hudson Soft. It's like, bro, give my kid a break here, man. Like, come on now. So to cap out the Grammys thing, guys, if you're a celebrity, guys, no one cares. Like, I don't even care what conservative celebrities say. Not really. Like, I mean, if we have a similar opinion on something, then great. But the difference is that those folks know that they don't live in the real world. They live in fucking La La Land. Like, I don't know what side of the aisle this guy's on, but I'll just pick a name. You've never heard anything politically on? Brad Pitt, because he stays out of it. Yep. Because they've tried to ask him about it. He's like, I put on makeup and pretend to be somebody else for a living. Why would anyone care what I think about politics? And that's a quote. And I'm like, that is the smartest thing I've ever heard, like one of the elder statesmen from Hollywood ever say, where he's just like, who cares what I think? Like, I'm fucking rich. I don't live
rich, bitch.
I'm rich. I don't live in the real world, man. I don't have to worry about an electric bill or anything like that. Like, no, I live in an extremely privileged life where money doesn't even occur to me. And these folks need to realize that, where it's so crazy to me that they think that they can kind of identify with the proverbial boots on the ground, like the regular Joes like you and I who have to worry about things like, electric bills, mortgages, car notes, like regular things. They have nothing in common with us at all.
Well, no. And again, it's that selective rage and the hypocrite. It's like he gets up there on a forum and they get up there, ice out. Really? You feel that strongly about it? I didn't see your ass in the minus 10 degree weather in Minnesota protesting.
No.
It's all bullshit. It's all smoking.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes I think that they're not even human beings. Like their souls have been, they're all part of that hive mind, and their souls have been like sucked out of them, and they're just like drones, and they just say the stuff that they're told to say without even thinking about it. You know, it's just unbelievable, because that's 3 screw ups right there. Stolen land. Your house is on stolen land. You care so much about immigrants, you don't invite them to the house. You care so much about getting ICE out, but you won't go to those places and protest. Like, there's just no forethought from her going, how is this going to make me look if I do this? And none of her handlers or the people around her are advising her, hey, you might want to just stay out of it, or just say you support the families and you don't want to see anybody get hurt. That's what you got to say, but yeah, it's unbelievable. Celebrities, I guess everybody's entitled to their opinion, but when you have an ill-informed opinion that is unequivocally wrong, then you'll have no audience with me. Like we talked about earlier, if you think that the words minor attracted person should be used at any point in our society, you're wrong. And Billie Eilish is wrong for saying all that dumb stuff that she said. So yeah, I don't even listen to them anymore, these celebrities.
No. And the rest of the world seems to be waking up on that. And I think what got the ball rolling on that, to be perfectly honest, COVID. I think that's what kind of started waking people up, when you had all these big mouth celebrities talking about, you need to do this, you need to do that. And the same people who are like, you should lose your job if you don't do what we say. Mm-hmm. Like they're the same group who did the, like, put a mask on, or you should go to prison, get the jab, or you should go to prison. All those same people are now crying foul, saying like, like people's rights are being violated. It's like, what about my fucking rights?
Yeah. Well, that's all is an illusion, because they'll say that our rights are being violated, but they can't just say my right to this is being violated. My right to that is being violated. These are the same people. You bring up COVID. These are the same people that wanted to put us in jail because we didn't want to wear a mask, we didn't want to get a shot, and we wouldn't carry a Vax ID card. They're now complaining that that you have to show your ID to vote. So again, it's the fake rage that is, it's
which is
so,
a HIPAA violation, by the way.
It gets me so like triggered, because it's like, you can't talk sense to these people. You got Rachel Maddow on MSNBC saying the virus stops with every vaccinated person about 6 months into the COVID. And it's like, that's unequivocal. That is not true. So if I get a shot, I can't get COVID. Well, no. If I get the shot, I can't give someone COVID. Well, no. So the virus doesn't stop with every vaccinated person, which then leads to the question, why are we getting this vaccine? They can't answer any of those questions. They just push the narrative that they're being told to tell. And, I'm sure everyone's seen those videos where they take all the different news channels and they put them side by side and they run them and they say the exact same words in the exact same way. That is literally the hive mind, and these people can't be trusted.
No, it's absolutely a narrative that they're obviously being spoon-fed from some type of higher power, which is what ties into this whole thing where I was saying earlier, like, if we find out this Epstein thing was like some type of massive global fucking cabal conspiracy and everything, I'm going to be like, dude, so much of my life makes sense now. Like this is like the one thing that makes the pieces fit, where I'm like, all of it makes sense now. Like all of it. And every time us folks on the right get accused of being like conspiracy theorists when we said it was a lab leak, and they're like, that's a conspiracy theory. When we said this was a fucking social litmus test for the jab, and the government has actually come out and said that, the WHO has said that, I'm like,
yeah, testing limits of control.
How many times do we have to be fucking right before you start listening and stop labeling us as fucking paranoid? And seriously, like, if you're so sure that you're fucking right and you're so sure that we're wrong, why don't you just give us enough rope to hang ourselves then publicly? Like, give us our theater in the public forum. Like, let us put this stuff out there. Then in 5 years, if it ages as poorly as you think it's going to age, then, well, you're going to have the last laugh then, aren't you? I'm just so glad. We won't dig into this too much, but I'm so glad that when my son is old enough where we actually get to tell him about what happened, like in 2020, 21, he's going to learn about this in school, dude. And he asks, mommy and daddy, like, what did you guys do during this? That I have the pleasure of saying that both mommy and daddy told their employers to go fuck themselves. Mm-hmm. And we both basically sat there waiting every single day, waiting to be fired. I was a government contractor at the time. I was down in DC, and it was a very big deal at that point to not get the jab. I was willing to get tested 3 times a week. I mean, it's free. I just had to go to CVS basically and have someone jam something up my fucking nose. And it turns out those tests weren't even that fucking accurate. Yeah. But at least the nurse there was nice. Like, she was like, to the point where I asked her, I'm like, this is stupid, isn't it? And she's like, yes. I'm just like, God, see, even she knows this is bullshit. But I was like, whatever. And I had to I got threatened by HR. I got threatened by federal officials where it's like, if you don't do this, they'll do this. I'm like, fire me. I'm like, seriously, I'm ready to lose my job over this. And I had a lot to lose.
And they say Trump is a dictator and a fascist. That is the literal definition.
Yeah. And he's the guy who's like, and him and to his credit, Secretary Kennedy is like, there will never be another vaccine mandate as long as we're running the show, period. And I'm like, that's the opposite of a dictator, because he's giving you the right to choose. Mm-hmm. So absolutely. I will never forget that. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, Chris. I'm going to grind that fucking axe with that party for the rest of my life, unless they do some type of massive course correction where they're just like, all that stuff that happened, guys, we are disowning all of that. That is not where we're going with this. We're here to be on the right side of history. If they're just doing a total fucking about face where they're openly admitting that all of that shit was wrong, we apologize. That's not the way we want our politics to go. That's not the way we want the American people to see us. I'm still going to be very skeptical about this. But unless they're willing to basically throw all of that shit out in the open and say, we were wrong about all of this, I will always hate the people in power that tried to bring this down. They threatened my job. They threatened my, and it's not just about that particular job that I was in. Guys, when you're in the DC sphere where I spent most of my career, I was risking getting permanently blackballed from my entire fucking industry that I'd spent 15 years at that point investing my time, my money, and my life into. This would be like asking a guy who's like a doctor, who went to medical school and everything, put his whole fucking heart and soul and his life into something. And then he's basically risking getting banned from being a doctor. Like, guys, look, that's not a job. That's a career. There's a difference. When someone is basically saying you're on a list, and as it turns out, by the way, I did some digging. The powers that be there in the government, I didn't work specifically for them. I worked for a contractor. Regular people there knew I wasn't vaccinated. And I was like, it got to the point where I asked someone, I was like, I'm sorry, ma'am, how do you know that? And I was working for HHS at the point, by the way, who was the tip of the spear in that fight. I was in a little subdivision of HHS, basically working in the legal sphere, but supporting them and shit. And a regular person there, I don't even think they were a 14 director. They knew that I wasn't vaccinated. I was like, excuse me, but how could you possibly know that? And she's just like, well, we have lists. I was like, can you show me the consent form that I signed giving you permission to view my medical history?
HIPAA violation.
That's a HIPAA violation. That is super fucking illegal. And the fact that none of those people are in jail, I'm sorry, Chris. I know the Christ thing to do is to forgive, but no, I'm not going to forgive that because they're unwilling to apologize for it. If they are willing to apologize and own it at some point, I'm willing to have the conversation with them. It's like, all right, we can talk about forgiveness, but they still think that they were right.
Yeah,
and I still know they were wrong.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, listen, you want to be peaceful and bring people to Christ and let them see the light and choose their own path. But when it's time, we're commanded to make no peace with evil.
Facts.
That means destroy it. Remove it from the planet.
Punish the wicked.
You better be willing to do that, because some people come here and they mock Christ, and they say things like, "Oh, aren't you supposed to turn the other cheek and be peaceful?" Yes, with people that want to make peace with us and people that want to make peace with Jesus. If you don't, and you don't act accordingly, you will be treated as evil, and we make no peace with evil. We destroy it. We crusade over it.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's no peace for someone who thinks that they are above forgiveness or above being wrong. And it's, dude, I've lost friends over this. This divided my family. Like it's, where I remember the social media post that I put up where I was in DC and I basically got pulled aside because I wasn't wearing a mask outside.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I was walking down the street in the public air and there was almost no one. We've gone over this. Like, there was almost no one in DC. Like, DC was a shadow of its former self. And like, even if you bought into their stupid fucking narrative, it's like, guys, I'm out here in the open air and there's no one around me. Exactly. Who am I a fucking threat to? Seriously. Like, this is fucking paranoia at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy and I were friends from the time I was a teenager. And what's crazy is he was a small business owner. And he towed the line of what the state told him to do. And it just got to the point where I was like, you know what, man? I don't value saying what's right over this, or rather, I value saying what's right over this friendship. And I took no fucking joys in saying that, but I'm like, no, like I feel like I'm being compelled to lie and like endorse something that I know to be both factually inaccurate and morally an aberration. And it was to the point where I just called him out publicly in front of his entire fucking family and everything. And I was just like, dude, I was like, the fact that you are too fucking stupid to realize that people like you were 100% of the goddamn problem. Because he was saying like, well, they were forcing us to do this. I'm like, then fucking tell them no. Dare them to fucking take action. Dig your heels in. I'm going to fucking quote Captain America and Mark Twain here. When the entire world is coming against you and you know that you are right, it is your fucking duty to plant yourself like a tree next to the river of truth and say, no, you move. That is the obligation of everyone in this country and as a human being. When you know that you are faced with something that is abject evil and the actions that you are taking are absolutely positively morally correct. If everyone in his position had simply stood up and said, you know what? No, I'm not going to enforce your stupid mandates. This is a private business. You're on private property. Get the fuck out of my store. That would have been my position from the beginning. Especially if I was a small business owner. I couldn't exactly throw people out of a federal building. But the fact that he didn't do that, and even years later, this was like, 4 or 5 years after the fact, he still couldn't admit it, to the point where I'm like, dude, all the facts are out. We know it was bullshit. We know it was a lab leak. We know the vaccines didn't work. We know masks didn't work. Like, all of that is common knowledge now. And even the fucking hippies are admitting it. And you are such a small dick fucking loser that you cannot admit it for yourself. You are such a tiny person that you can't say, I was wrong, you were right. And it's not about me being right. It's more just like, dude, just
at least acknowledge the truth.
Yes, just acknowledge that this is factual reality, that you had it wrong. Dude, I was scared at the beginning of COVID. Everyone was. We didn't know what the fuck was going on. It was terrifying at first. It was like, there's some disease, like people are dying from it. Dude, that's scary as shit.
Yeah, this is how the zombie apocalypse starts.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, bro, baby, it's go time. So, and it got to the point where I was just like, you know what? I was like, I don't care about this friendship anymore, because it's like, I live in objective reality. This isn't about me being on the right side of the history and him being on the wrong one. I know it may seem like that, guys, but that's really not what this is. He was so prideful that he was simply unwilling to accept that he had it wrong. He was duped. And instead of being angry at the people that duped him, he turned that on his friends and his family. Like, if that's the kind of person you are, dude, I don't want to associate with you.
Hive mind.
Yeah. Like if you're a fucking NPC who's like incapable of having an interior monologue, dude, I want to hang out with smart people, not stupid people. Stupid people do not help smart people. They bring them down.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never see a smart person hanging out with a dummy. They hang out with other smart people. Not that I'm the smartest guy in the room in any given situation, but I'm not the dumbest. And I never will be unless I'm in the room with a bunch of fucking rogue scholars. I guess then I'm the dumbest, but that's okay. That's all by proxy. So I think that is a good place to go ahead and wrap up this particular episode. Crystal Ball. This has been fantastic. All right, we're going to put this one on screen before we go. This is a good one.
Yeah, I was reading that as well. David says, never wore a mask once. I was told cops were in Walmart while I was there and that they were looking for people to ticket. And I said, then they'll have to talk to me about how it's not
a law, and I'll sue.
Yeah, sorry, little print. I'm getting old.
You're fine, dude.
Yeah, that was the other thing. And I can specifically tell you as someone who has a ticket book that I would never write that ticket. It is not a law. That is not the application of the law, right? There's the letter of the law and the spirit of the law and all these things that would be unequivocally wrong for a police officer to enforce that if it's not a piece of legislation, because at that point it's not backed by anything. You know, I give Jimbo a ticket for, hey, you're not allowed to wear your hat backwards on a Saturday night. Here's your ticket. That's not a law.
That's my response.
I'm gonna get
Chris, but that's my response.
I'm gonna get sued. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we had just like we were told the place I work for is like ultra liberal, and they were like, you're not allowed to enforce ICE warrants. So if we come across I work in downtown Columbus. If we come across someone who has an ICE warrant, say they're trespassing or whatever, pull them over. Mm-hmm. We have to let them go because those warrants are administrative in nature. I'm like, well, technically all warrants are administrative because there's an administrative process where they get filled out, right? There's a document you fill out for a warrant. Then it goes to the courthouse. It gets stamped in by the clerk of court. So that's an admin procedure. The judge looks at it and goes, yeah, you have probable cause for this. So boom, there's your warrant. I mean, you can do all that stuff. And then it goes into leads. And it's like, it's nonsensical is what it is. These are unenforceable laws. And the fact that they're going to have cops show up at a Walmart, like what are they do? What else are they doing? So writing people tickets for not wearing a mask in a Walmart is like a priority over all of the other things that are going on. Yeah, I'm convinced COVID was a test for compliance to see if you would react to it.
No, it was
just my thoughts.
But
anyway, great comment, David. Great comment.
Yeah, dude, and we'll wrap it up here. In that situation, man, I'd honestly be more mad at the cops and the people behind them because the cops could be like, I'm not enforcing that. Go fuck yourself. Dude, I'm always a big supporter of Leo's. I support you, Chris. You're definitely one of the good guys. But you know what I don't appreciate is the people who are just like back the blue no matter what, because that's like saying believe all women. That's like saying that there is not one person who's a Leo who is incapable of doing evil. There absolutely is. Women are capable of lying. I don't work in absolutes. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like I'll do broad strokes, but that's like saying no cop ever has ever done anything wrong.
Well, maybe we can cover this on a future episode. What's this? February? In January, the Gahanna Police Department, they hired this woman in like 2021. She's gotten 2 DUIs in 5 years. And they didn't come out and say she's been fired. She's been dismissed from duty. Well, what does that mean? Is she on administrative? Like, there's a whole thing. Like, obviously, because I'm in the business, I see a lot of good, bad, maybe not ethical stuff. And maybe we can get into that on a future episode. I know you got to go. My daughter's looking at me real weird. Like, really, Dad? 2.5 hours?
It's a podcast.
Yeah. So we're making history every day, making history. So
we are.
Yeah. How about
All
that?
right. We want to thank everyone so much for stopping by. Mr. Pingen. I'll shout out a couple of people here. David, awesome comments. I'm just going to call you I Like a Bareback because I know that's your original name. He's a fucking lifer on this channel. Jay Boone, Frankie, Thumping. Thank you all. Thank you everyone so much for hanging out. We will be back next Saturday doing episode 3. Got a whole bunch of new things to talk about with you guys. Excuse me. But as always, just go ahead and enjoy the outro video, and we will see you next Saturday.
Yeah.